I'm here. Hello. I apologize. I apologize. I had a little bit of a disaster. A certain feline, which we will not mention, kind of got stuck on a door. So I've spent the last 10 minutes trying to get the damn thing off the door. Yes, you can meow at me all you want. Honestly. We have this obsession with climbing things. We get on top of the climbing thing, and then we realize we can't actually get down from the thing that we have been climbing. Cats. I swear, honestly. They'll be the death of me one day. Yeah, I was doing a bit of cleaning around the house today, bit of deep cleaning, you know, the places where you don't really clean that often, behind the sofa and stuff like that. And we found a treasure trove. We found a little safety deposit box where all the cat puts all of her toys, apparently. Because there's about 50 cable ties, all hidden there, hairbands, you name it. That's where we've hidden it. Aye. It's the fact she jumped up from the sink to the bathroom door and then turned around and realised she couldn't jump off the bathroom door back into the sink, and the drop to the floor was a bit too much for what she wanted, so just sat there for about 10 minutes meowing at me. So I had to like try and get some sort of crash mat for the cat. And then I finally got the crash mat, and then we kind of wiggled for about 2 minutes and then got off the top and then looked quite proud of herself. But there you go. Right, let's turn this music down a little bit. Seriously. Well, you'd be surprised. The problem is they can get up to places, but then they don't realize the height that they've got up to, and then they turn around, they look around, and she's like, how do I get down from here? I'm sure if I left her for about 5 minutes, she'd have figured it out. Maybe 10 minutes, but she was making such a racket. I was like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, I did a bad thing. How many runs are we doing here? I'm actually doing a Shogun run, not because normally Shogun's worth doing, but because there is times 2 on. Stage 25, stage 24 is the same value as stage 25. So it kind of works out the same as me running Spider 10 hard at the moment, so I might as well use the bonus. It's probably not as good for Sand Devil, but for Shogun it's worth it. Yeah, honestly, like, my cat likes hairbands, she likes cable ties. So if there's a new, like, you know, TV has arrived or some sort of computer component, she is like, I'm all over the, she's like all over it, basically. She loves the cable tie. But the problem is she just has this like inept need to hide everything. So it either goes under the fridge freezer or the washing machine, or it goes under the sofa, under the bed. She's just got this obsession with hiding everything. It's really strange. And you know, yeah. She's now sitting behind me as if she's proud of herself. How are you after the late night stream? Today I'm okay. Yesterday I was a bit burnt out in the end. I was a bit tired, so I moved it to today. Can we stop pinging me, honestly? Focus. Tinks is her name, but she's also called Trouble. And Monster, and Monkey, you name it. That's what I'm thinking. She has this thing where it has to, like, literally within 5 seconds of her playing with it, it's under the sofa. Or if I'm like in the kitchen, we'll play chase. She'll bring the cable tie to the end at the door of the kitchen, and then I'll throw it. She'll chase it. She'll bring it back. I'm sure she's not a dog, but maybe she is. But if I take my eye off her for a second, it's right under the fridge, and then I have to go turf it out with a stick to try and get, because she'll then sit there and look at under the fridge as if to say, why did I put it under the fridge? Now I can't get to it. So farming 24 is normally inefficient, but if you put it into comparison, right now, for 30-second run on Shogun, I'm getting 400 points in 30 seconds. If I was running Spider 10 hard, I can do it half the time. It's like 15 seconds, give or take, depending on the rotation, but I'm still getting 400 points. So whilst there is a bonus for Shogun, it's okay to run Shogun 24, because I can use that oil to basically get some bonus points in ascending, And then once I've run out of bonus, once this 400 becomes 200, then you stop, right? Once you've used up your ×2 bonus, then it's not worth it because you can't run 25. Yeah, but I can't run 25, right? I don't have a 25 team. And besides which, the bonus, quote bonus, is not much different. If that makes sense. I could be basically not doing Shogun and running it on stage 10 hard spider, right? If I had a 25 team, I would agree with you, but there's not that many 25 teams that I know of. Because most teams are framed around Gnut, right? I mean, we can have a look in the optimizer. Let's have a look. No, I recorded that yesterday, Swiftcut. I woke up and I recorded that. Wait, you want some treats now, Dio? Alright then. How do you deal with Cantra, Miss, and Provokes in Hydra? Necmo, Thar, and Prey, basically. RNG, mainly. So I normally run like her at 250 odd speed with Necmo Thar, and we just boost it. So we're getting like 2 attempts. We just bribe the cat. Loads. Champions. Right, let's go to team. So I'm pretty certain if I go to Shogun, stage 25, there's probably a team, I guess. But they're not fast, right? The fastest one is 1 minute. And it's only 1 battle. So really we'd be looking at like probably at least 10 battles. And I'd want like 100% success. Really need to stop that from happening. There we go. Took a while. So there's like, there's one with Ninja here. There's one with double Cold Heart, Paragon, Gnarlhorn, Riho, I guess. But this is like 3 runs of 24 in 1 run of 25. So yes, technically there is a value in having 25 in terms of... Like, you could argue that there's value in terms of points, but in terms of time, no. Because essentially, in this 1 minute 29, I'm getting 800 points. Well, on Spider, I would be able to get that like 15... If I think 15 seconds, so that's what? 15, 30, 45, 60... 75, 90. So in 90 seconds, so I'm getting 800 divided by 90. So in 90 seconds, I'm getting about 8 points per second. Whereas in Spider 10 hard, I'm getting about 26 points. So this is significantly slower. Whereas this isn't so bad because I'm doing it in 26 seconds most of the time. So I'm only costing myself 10 seconds, if that makes sense. So how much of a stat difference is there between 24 and 25? It's the main issue between 24 and 25 is not the stats. The issue is the affinity. Gnut is weak affinity on 25. And Gnut is such a strong champion for this that because you can't use Gnut, everything just takes a lot longer. So you're having to basically, you can see here, cycle, I'm guessing these are running, like this one here, I'm guessing is running, you know, I guess Cold Heart with Refresh. So he's basically trying to run Refresh accessories. Using the Paragon in Toxic as well, for some reason. Gnarlhorn as well. So I'm guessing they must need... I don't really understand how it's working, to be honest. Like, Riho's obviously in here for the debuffs. It's a bit of a weird one. But yeah, so that's why I'm running 24. Why I looked at the math, I was like, well, I can basically run all my bonus down and then just move over to Spider, right? So it's actually okay to run it on there. I'm not sure I'll run the Sand Devil, but I might run enough Sand Devil to ascend one of my pieces to rank 6, the speed boots that we worked on last night or the other night for Sun Wukong. Because he does need these ascended, right? So we need a little bit more of these superior oils. So we might run a bit of Sand Devil to do that. But like, definitely Shogun's worth it. Yeah, of course, if I had double Acrizia, it would make sense. That's what I'm saying, right? When your team is based around Gnut, you're almost disqualified from doing 25, so you just run 24, because 25 is just too much time, right? It takes too long. It's not worth it. Yeah, I've settled on this build now. I haven't booked Wukong, no. I'll book him when my clan wants me to book him. I don't use books until later on, basically. But what we can do now is we can update all of our glyphing. We can basically go through now and check if there's anything extra we can glyph. I mean, that's pretty capped out. That could probably get a bigger glyph. There you go. This one here, we could try a 6-star glyph on that. This one is pretty big already. This one we could try a 5-star. I really don't want to glyph that one just yet. This is pretty much glyphed as much as it's going to glyph. So really what we're looking at is glyphing this up a bit. But I do wonder, should I be looking at a refresh instead of a reaction? Because he's going so fast anyway, so does reaction really matter? Should we just basically get a refresh ring? Instead. Because if we have a refresh ring, like something like that, we just refresh the sheep, right? Instead. I think that might be better. We don't necessarily need any sort of main stats here. I mean, defense with HP flat, you know, it's pretty average. We'd want something like tanky, I guess. That would cost me like 3,000 health. But that's because we're swapping from a ring to this. It would cost us a bit of attack, but he's not there to do damage. You know, we could probably try roll this, see what this has got. Maybe a roll's good on HP. Yeah, it's never going to be as much. We could try that one. We'd basically lose a bit of HP because we'd lose a bit from the primary, but we would gain a bit of defense. Or we could just go for a defense ring. Like, HP more valued. Let's just put that on him. No, we need to make some space. That one's low roll to sell that. Oh, Lord above. We need space. That's awful. Sell that. There you go. Hey, brother. Yeah, I mean, he can weak hit, so that's the only thing you got to be mindful of. But it's still only a 33% chance to weak hit, right? Are you going for the next fusion? We'll talk about the fusion in a little bit when we get into the Hydra bit. We're going to be live until about 8 p.m. and then YST will be streaming, so... Is Belnor a useful champion? Yes, he's very good at wave clearing now because his A2 is now AoE. He's very good in clan boss, although not as damaging as he used to be. He does provide a lot of crit rate for your team, so you can really sacrifice a lot of stats for that you would normally need to do with crit rate. You can put it into other things. So in those kind of windows, he's excellent. Like, here is a bit more awkward because we need everything on accuracy, right? We can't really sacrifice too much for a refresh here because we'd be sacrificing a stupid amounts of accuracy. So really, I'd be looking at here for a better refresh, just because it does kind of show you how difficult it is to get good refresh accessories. It's quite difficult. So realistically here, none of these accessories are worth upgrading because I could ascend this, but it's not going to give me anything of value at all other than tankiness, which I have no interest in. So, the only thing we could potentially throw a 6-star on is this. But it has had loads already, and... Oh, it's got 1. It gets... Every single time I throw a little bit more on, it gets a little bit closer. Not frustrating whatsoever. That 4%. Can do 3%. There we go. It's a little bit better. 7%. So we're creeping the speed up a little bit. He's at 349 now. We're getting closer to where we want to be. We haven't booked him yet. We haven't ascended him yet. He didn't show up in the marketplace for me. What's this? Relay offer. What the hell is a relay offer? A relay offer. Okay, what do we get? 12, 12. All right, well, that's not bad. $100 for that. I don't know about that rate, if I'm being honest. My search is not working. Okay, so it's better to buy the energy outright. Just, I'm assessing the value. So what you can do, guys, if you are wanting to look at whether an offer in the game is of interest to you. Obviously, I know a lot of people don't spend, but if you are looking to spend, you can come to our pack offer calculator here. We do need to fix the player and play points. It'll probably be something I do later on this week. At the moment, I kind of made a bit of a thing where I was like, well, I valued the player and play points based on how much you get per spend, when actually I should have valued it based on what you get from those points. So we will be updating the player and points contribution. But other than that, this works really good. So we can basically put in here and we can say, well, our options are we can get 28 twice, which is, what, 56? With 5,600 energy. And I always, whenever you see these, I always prefer the multi-battles because I don't really like using RSL Helper if I can help it. And I always have a full inbox, so the multi-battles help me a lot. So I always choose those, and that's like, what, 400? And it'll tell you that's a bad deal for Ancients. Now, for Void Shards, we were getting 12 and 12, so we were getting 24. Still a bad deal. 2 Sacreds, awful deal. So it's not a good deal, basically. Don't buy that one. Now, you could say if you bought the brews instead, like, would it be better? Like, what do we got there? 80 brews is here. That's 50. Still a bad deal. You know, if we put it to here, still a bad deal. So it's not a good deal. Not a good deal. Is it 4 Sacreds? Oh, it's 4 Sacreds, I guess. 500, 5,600, or 400. Still a bad deal. So, yeah, I prefer multi-battles, me. You got it. Yeah, everyone's been DMing me about the vouchers. I'm like, you just told me about it. It's fine. The vouchers they're getting from Player and Play. Everyone just keeps sending me a DM. Did you know about this? I'm like, yes, I did. But I was bad today. I did get this. I got one of these. This is the only time that I think these are worth buying. I'll only ever buy the tier 1s. And only when they are worth twice the amount. Where you basically get 2 Mortal Soulstones for $1. Now, some people might argue $60 for basically lots of rare souls, fine. But you roll in the dice, right? I feel like this is better to get as a dice roll. Because when it comes to like such low odds, like you better just roll volume. The odds of you getting good souls out of it, unless you're using the Eternal Soulstones, you just might as well roll the tier 1s and roll the odds. So I don't mind buying them at this rate. And I'm kind of like trying to make them realize that in the analytics, because I will ignore every single soul pack apart from when it's 2 for 1. So if they keep seeing that I'm willing to spend money on a 2 for 1, maybe they'll make 2 for 1 the standard for everyone, and then the special packs will be 3 for 1, right? So, but I get one because I don't mind buying them when they're like this, because I think it's a fair price, right? Exactly. It's the same thing as saying you're getting like an ancient for, 2 ancients for $1. That's kind of the way I'd look at it as well. So when they do those packs at Christmas time and it's like 2 ancients for $1, it's kind of worth it. Yeah, you can thank Crouching Grandpa for basically getting half of the work done for the player and play points. Well, the Summer's End offer, I think this is an okay one. The only thing is, if you don't value the live arena tokens, it's not so good. Right, so if we look at it in here, and we would basically put this one in, what is it? It's $69, so $70. It's going to give us 7,000 energy, 70 refills, and we're going to get, I think, 600 multi-battles, or is it 700 multi-battles? So whenever you see multi-battles like this, we calculate the total, not one. So, you know, how many in total? Silver, we don't really value this at all. I never value a silver as a purchase. And then 14 arena. So obviously, if you don't care about arena, it's still a good deal. If you want the arena as well, it'll add a bit more value. So it's a pretty decent deal. Because you're getting 700 multi-battles, right? So if you don't value the multi-battles and you don't value the arena refill, then it's about average. So I would say if you value the arena refills and you use multi-battles predominantly, it's one of the better energy packs there is. When I saw it, I was like, ooh, energy. To be honest, the only things I ever spend money on these days, I don't buy shards. I'll buy the soul stones when they're 2 for 1. It's energy packs. If there's like that $9.99 one, sometimes I'll buy that little energy pack. If there's like a good energy pack that comes up, I'll pick that up. If I'm running out of multi-battles, I'll go find a pack that's a really good value that I can get the multi-battles for. It's the only one, it's because I would just rather the energy. Why don't you use or gems, or the gem pack, right? When they do the sack of gems, it's like 7,500 gems for like $40. That's well worth it. Why don't I use RSL Helper? I use it for things that don't require artifacts, but because I can't really trust the auto-selling within RSL Helper, I never have space to use RSL Helper. So that is a bit of a problem for me, personally. It's not that I'm critical of RSL Helper. I haven't got a problem with RSL Helper. It's just, for me, I am a very untrustworthy person when it comes to auto-selling. I don't use the auto-sell in-game. I don't use the auto-sell in RSL Helper. So I use the multi-battle so I can preview all the artifacts and manually sell everything I don't want. That's just me. It's who I am. You know, hate me, whatever for it. It's just... I don't trust it. Reason why you haven't used the clan boss keys yet, in case we actually looked at clan boss today. Which don't think I will. And we'll get 4. Actually, no, I think I have used it. The 2 that I haven't used is the one for brutal and hardcore, actually. I think it's the CVC rewards. Yeah, if there's a really, really, really good Void Shard pack, then I'll entertain it. But I find that buying packs are just a waste of money for shards. It's just a waste of money because it's not so much for like, if it was like my free-to-play type of account, then shards would probably be more valuable than anything else, right? Because you need access to champions. But for like my level of account, you know, if you pull a legendary, it'll probably be some useless champion you have no use for, or it'll be a duplicate you've already got, right? So the chances of me getting a Kaima, like I could pull all my ancient shards today and try and get a Kaima, but I'll probably just walk away with some random probably another ultimate death knight or something, right? So it's not worth it. People need to hit me in arena. Why aren't people attacking me in arena? I've got 1-man defenses up. Attack me. People, I need points. I think I've used all my refills now, so that's good. So I'm not going to waste any. So far, I'm on 100,000 points. All I have done is Shogun. I did a little bit of forging. I did a little bit of like upgrading in terms of what I've just done now in terms of ascending. And I have literally just done faction wars. And that is it. And tag team. So it just kind of shows you that you don't actually need to invest an awful lot to actually get going. We are going to be in a tough matchup, I think. They haven't used any champion objectives yet. So it could be a tough matchup. Like, we'll have to see how it goes. And we are struggling in Hydra Clash as well. We are like last. We are bottom basing right now. It's not great. We're not in a good position. We probably won't get anything this time round, but hey. Yeah, so that's the problem, Trance, right? Like, for me, I want very specific energy packs. What I want from an energy pack is gems, energy, multi-battles. I don't want the rest, right? So when I'm looking at things like this, the arena are basically, you're marking up the price for arena tokens I have no use for. When I look at something like this, I want the refills, don't really care for like the chickens, the demon lord keys, the brews, or the refills. So I'm basically marked up for the refills, not worth it. Things like, I think that's the only packs on there now. So that's what I always look for, is just energy. I don't really want all the extras that come with it, so. You should pull for Kaima. It's just not worth it. Did the efficiency maths for TTA refills in gold 3 and gold 4 for 100 gems technically better than energy? Did the efficiency maths for TTA refills and in G3 and G4? Yeah, they are. Like per one of these, per single 10 tokens, so one refill, it's about 7,050 points. Right? So the first refill you buy is 15 gems, so 7,050 divided by 15, like that's going to give you like 470 per gem. Whereas if you buy one refill, like you can basically get 400 points, and it's like what, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. So you can do like 6 runs. Spider will basically give you 2,400. Tag team is very important. That's why I say to people, like, we will be doing a tag team arena focused stream very soon to try and help people figure out how to get themselves into gold, because being in gold is where a lot of your points come from in terms of CVC. I can invest maybe 100 gems the night before, and those 100 gems will basically give me about 25,000 clan versus clan points, which is way more than Spider will give me. So, do you think pulling voids only during a guaranteed champion is worth it, since you thought your pity are guaranteed since the odds are even ×2? I only pull my voids now when there's a ×2 that I want. A ×10. I don't pull voids on ×2 really. I just pull it on ×10s with champions. If a champion is on a ×10 and it's a champion that I need or I don't have that is valuable, like now, I haven't got a warlord, I'll just yeet my voids. And if I hit mercy on it, great. If I don't, well, it is what it is. I'm not really saving for a guaranteed void legendary, because to be honest, the guaranteed void legendaries are normally okay void legendaries that I don't really need. Like Chagor is an okay legendary. He's not a bad champion, but I don't need him. Fortis is another example. He's an okay legendary. I make use of him, but he's not worth it that much. So yeah, a lot of people get stuck in tag team. So we will probably do like a focused stream on tag team at some point. Pulling guaranteed never resets your pity. No, pulling guaranteed doesn't reset it as long as you've pulled it on the 80th, right? So, for example, I had an awful situation where it was guaranteed Turvold, and I pulled the Turvold on the 67th shard. So not only did it cancel my guaranteed, it reset my mercy as well. So it's horrific, because essentially I didn't get 2 Turvolds for the price of 1. I lost the guaranteed, and I lost my mercy counter because I didn't pull it on the 80th shard. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I was so demoralized for that. Riho's probably the only guaranteed void that I've said is like really, really good. Like, and even when she was a guaranteed, everyone's saying, "Ah, she's okay, she's not that good." Turns out she's actually really good for this content now. But that was brutal. That actually that ruined me for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. That wasn't great. Right, so what are we going to do today? We are going to be looking at Hydra. So whilst we're doing that, I'm going to put this on for another 50 runs. We did 49 actually. Let's just do another 50 runs. Yeah, 50 runs. So another 49 runs. Let's just do 40 to make sure. I don't want to waste points. Fortis is my Nightmare Campaign farmer. Every so often I use him on some Doom Tower waves if they're being particularly annoying. But he's predominantly my Nightmare Campaign farmer. Right, let's run 40 of those. So, what do we want to do today? What I want to do is I want to look at my roster. And what we're going to do is we're going to structure... I'm going to basically approach it as like... How do you approach Hydra? This is what this stream is going to be about. So if you've ever wanted to like look at Hydra from the beginning going up, this is what we're going to do. We are going to be using spreadsheets naturally. Duchess, if he's in chat, will probably be loving life right now. So first thing we got to know about Hydra, we have got 6 different heads. Now, depending on the difficulty you're approaching, if you're doing normal, you can get away with not assuming a team can support all heads, right? Because the odds of you getting the same head back is quite high. Every difficulty that you go through, the higher you climb, the greater chance that the respawning of the head is a different head to than what you had before. I think it's something like, it goes like 50-50 or 70, is like a 25% chance it's not the same head, then it goes to 50, then it goes to like 30, and then it goes to like 10% chance, right? So when you get to Nightmare, it's more often than not going to be a different head than the one it was before. So we're going to be structuring kind of with, we're going to be looking specifically at supporting all 6 heads, because my count should be on like Nightmare backwards, not normal up. But if you are like starting in Hydra, you probably want to just focus on the components for those heads, right? So we got Hydra heads. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to call it heads here, and we're going to call put these here. I'm going to put that there. And then we're going to put, okay. I'm going to do this. Merge that. Okay, and then we're going to do this. Going to do this. And we're going to do that. So what do we got? We've got the head of Decay. We've got the head of Mischief. We've got the head of Blight. We've got the head of Wrath. We've got the head of Suffering. And we've got the head of... I always miss one. Always miss one. Always miss one. Mischief, Blight, Wrath, Decay, Suffering, Torment. I always miss one. It's really frustrating. Is it too loud? Sorry. Oh, that's muted it. Let's see. How's the music now? Is that better? It was Kessel. It's awful. So we got these heads here, okay? Oh, damn. Let's close that. Don't need that. So what we need to know is what do we need to combat these heads, right? So when you're approaching Hydra, essentially Hydra is presenting you with a bunch of challenges, a number of issues, and you need a solution for every single head, right? So let's start with the easiest one of them all, Torment. Torment is going to make you take fears no matter what you do. So you need in your team, if you want to combat Veil, either to combat the fear, sorry, you need either a perfect Veil or you need Shamael. There is no other solution. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, right? If I say anything that I've forgotten something or I've overlooked something, just correct me in chat. But I'm pretty sure that the only solutions we've got here are Perfect Veil and Shamael. Or Cleanser, right? Yeah. The problem is, cool, though, that generally Cleansers attack and they will attack Torment. So you could, as an option, we'll do that, Cleanser. It's not as reliable, but it's an option. Right, you can, like, my Nightmare team at the moment does, like, a combo between Ugo and Mithrala. But you risk when you've got a Cleanser... Yeah, so we could basically say, this is probably a better way of saying it, Doom Priest or Tuhanarak, right? If you've got Doom Priest or Tuhanarak, then that's an option, right? Those are the 3 kind of options. Someone like a Cleanser as O. I'll put O Cleansers because the risk you run with cleansing, yes, if he is not consistent, yeah, you need consistent. Hey, Liam, yeah, we're doing it early today. So cleansers are okay. The only thing you've got to run the risk of is the act of attacking on an AoE might force your cleanser into a fear, therefore they can't cleanse. So pretty much, if we were to highlight an imperfect thing, this is better, then this is neutral, and this is bad, right? So what I'm basically saying is, really, if you want it to be consistent, you need one of these two. If you want an option, you can do Tuhanarak, but even Tuhanarak and Doom Priest has problems because if they're not going before the champion that gets feared, is it a problem, right? It's not always straightforward to just run them. And then cleansers are kind of like the worst case scenario if you haven't got the answer to these kind of solutions. So So yeah, so that's what you need for there. Now suffering brings a debuff on you, which means that you take damage whenever you attack suffering. Largely you can ignore it, but it will take damage. The biggest issue with suffering is rotational speed, as in it can rotate turns very quickly, which means if it consumes your target, then you need to get it out quickly, right? And the other thing is the reflect. So in this instance, you need either a block buffs or a buff removal, and you need damage, right? But damage we're going to have as basically an overall. We're just going to have here Nightmare. You need to, so what we're going to do here is we're going to just do this. Merge teams. Roll. That's, we're going to have Nightmare, Brutal, Hard. And we're just going to do like this down here. So what we're going to do is, as we're working out what we need to sort of defeat, we'll add the role into over here, right? And then we'll build out teams from that. So whatever team that you build, you always need 2 DPSs, 2 separate champions that can fill the role of DPS, right? One is not enough, because if that one gets consumed, you have no other sources of damage, and generally you need damage anyway, otherwise what's the point of doing it? So how does this team build affect Hydra rotations? Could we build one team for each of the rotations, or need multiple teams? Generally, I never change my team for rotation. The only thing you might need to change is affinity specific roles. So for example, your provoker might need to change from a like Black Knight to a Seeker or something of that nature, right? You might need to move them around depending on affinity. But at a bare minimum, you need 2 DPSs, okay? 2 DPSs at a bare minimum. Okay. What's the formula for that? One second. I always forget the formula here. There we go. That's what I want. So that should hopefully. It's been a minute since I've done this. I'm basically trying to generate a unique thing. So B13 to B12, yeah. That should be fine. Bit of Excel trickery, because what we're going to be doing is filling that role a lot. So at most we want this, and then if I do that, should do it across to there. Nice. So normally, whatever team you build, you need at least 1 DPS, at least 2 DPS, right? 2 champions that are going to deal damage. That's what you need at a minimum. But generally for suffering, all you need is block buffs or buff removal, right? One or the other. This is more preferable. This would be if you don't have it, right? It doesn't really matter too much, but block buffs would be better. Now for Head of Wrath, 100% you need block buffs. And you often will need buff removal, but that also is needed. Because you can't always depend on block buffs. And you 100% need decreased attack. Okay, you 100% need those. As long as you got decreased attack and block buffs up, the Head of Wrath won't do much damage. You can tank it normally in a very well build. Now, let me get this right. You need Provoke for Decay. And for Mischief, we need block buffs. Because all the Head of Wrath is going to do is keep its counter going, then hit you really hard. That's all it kind of does. It's not really a problem. So just make sure those are... Stop it. Stop making noises. Just make sure you've got the block buffs and you've got a decreased attack on the Head of Wrath. Now, Blight, you need block buffs and you need block debuffs. Or you need a cleanser. I would prefer to rely on block debuffs more than anything else because I think it's better. And for Head of Mischief, you need a resistance tank or block buffs, right? So you kind of see why I've been saying that Wukong is very strong for Hydra, because across the board, all these heads get like weaker when you have block buffs. You stop the reflect, you stop the poison cloud, you stop him stealing buffs. It doesn't, if you've got block buffs, it doesn't really matter about controlling who the Mischief head targets. Yes, you will lose turn meter and your buffs, but he won't be able to spread anything, right? Because this Mischief head will not use his buff spread if he hasn't got any buff spreads. This Decay head will not cleanse if it's perma-provoked. Blight will not actually use his A2 if there are no poisons out for him to actually activate, so he only ever does his A3 and his A1. Head of Wrath just deals damage as long as you've got decreased attack to stop it. Suffering will just do weaken. You probably want block debuffs or a cleanser for Suffering as well, because it does do a weaken on the A2, and it does a couple of other debuffs, which is annoying. You probably want as well block debuffs or a cleanser for Decay, because there was a continuous heal. So yeah, Mischief can outrun it, so you know he can steal it. So it's probably a good idea to make a Mischief target. It's probably still a good idea, but it's not essential. I would say it's secondary if you have block buffs. If you don't have block buffs, you 100% need a Mischief target, right? So it's kind of like on the same scale. But those are kind of the things you need. Now, there are some general things as well. So we could put like a general column in here, because there are general things that you are going to need to cover, which is just generally good. It's not specific to any sort of head or any mechanic that the head does. This is just general things that you will want to have in your team to make sure that you can do stuff. So this will be decreased defense. Why is that so big? What is going on there? Format painter. Normal. Let's do that. So you want decreased defense. You probably want weaken, but it's optional. You probably want it for damage, but it's optional. You will want to have decreased speed, and that is like super high priority. Like decreased speed is super high priority. You will want to have decreased attack, we've already mentioned over here, but you probably want that generally as well. Like you probably want this generally over here. And the other thing that is also very handy that I find is decreased accuracy. Okay. So you'll need those for all the heads as well. And then you'll also need some components here, which is healing, ally turn meter boosting, so basically get your turns more, and then primary buffs, death, attack, right? Because you want to make sure that you're staying alive. Those are kind of like general things, okay? So you definitely want these. Like these are essential. The greens are essential in my opinion. You need some form of healing in the team, otherwise you're just going to die. You need some form of ally turn meter boosting so you can get back around to your abilities quicker. You probably need something for like increased defense more than anything else to keep yourself alive. I would say actually that's probably neutral. You don't need them, but they're really helpful. And then probably the final one, as G-Man is getting ahead of me, which is now incredibly powerful, Hex. Okay, Hex is now incredibly powerful. Hex should be in every single team. Increased speed is within the ally turn meter boosting concept, right? You want something to boost your team, okay? So these are kind of like all you need. So actually you can see that individual head issues are normally quite solvable, right? pretty much you can summarize this as I need a block buffs, a block debuffs, something to deal with the Torment head, a provoker, and then just general stuff. So, yeah, actually, you are correct. That should also be here, otherwise you can never target. So those are the things I think generally you need for Hydra. Now, some optional things. We've got shielding, strengthen, right? These are things to keep your team alive. That's optional stuff. Ally protection is optional. I don't really think you need much to keep your Head of Wrath alive. Like that Head of Wrath does no damage to my team, even squishy champions, when he's got decreased attack and block buffs and everything. So I actually don't think you need revive. I think if you're depending or building a reviver, like I would put it in like a red category, because I think you should build your team without having to need a revive. It's handy if a champion comes in like a Duchess, she has it, but if you are like trying to revive, your team is normally falling apart and you haven't built it right. Obviously things can go wrong, but if you get bad RNG, you re-roll, right? So generally what I'm saying with revive is, if you need a revive, you kind of like, you need to look at the build, because if you're depending on it at all, then really all you should need the revive for is bad RNG. Increased speed is in ally turn meter boosting. So, you know, you do need an awful lot, but now we start looking at how can you wrap these things up, right? So the first thing we're looking at here is, well, we need a block buffs champion, right? So we definitely need one of those. We've already said that. We definitely probably need a hex. We definitely probably need block debuffs. We probably need decreased defense. We probably need decreased speed, decreased attack. We need heal support, defense support. We need increased speed, and or I will do increased speed / TM, right? It's basically someone who can give us boosting. Those are the roles we're kind of like, I would say these are essential, right? We need 2 DPSs, we need a block buffs, we need a hex, we need a block debuffs, we need decreased defense, decreased speed, decreased attack, heal support. Defense support is basically like strengthen, ally protection, something of that nature. Increased speed, decreased speed, and then a torment solution. I'm going to just do torment solution here. Okay, those are the roles that we would probably need to summarize that table up into. Now, obviously, it's optional. You don't need block debuffs. I just think it's helpful. Block buffs. Oh, one thing I didn't talk about is HP burn, but here's the thing. HP burn is more valuable the lower difficulty that you get. It's not more valuable the higher difficulty you get. Right, so, you know, burns overall are quite good. It's nice transactional damage. What I mean by transactional damage is it's things that happens as things that happen in the battle, but it's not as strong as other things, right? So, yeah, buff removal could be taken out of suffering and put it in yellow in overall, right? And just move these two up. What about poison? Poison is bad because 50% of the heads, so 50% of the heads are immune to poison, and the ones that are not immune to poison are things like the Head of Decay. You do not want to poison the Head of Decay because you will overfill the debuff bar and then you can't provoke it. So then you go like, well, that one doesn't work now. So you end up like 4 out of the 6 heads are not good for poison. So poison should not be a priority in a team. Like, poison should just not even be in consideration. Provokes on Head of Decay here. Provokes on Head of Decay. It's not a general one, it's for specifically fixing decay, right? You could argue that block debuffs is general, but we just put it on the specific ones that cause in head. That is optional. Brimstone is optional. And again, Brimstone, if you're going to use it, needs to be single target only, right? So otherwise it's useless, because half the time it will go on a head that cannot activate it, because there are very few heads that can activate it. It should be suffering only. It should be on suffering only. No, actually, in majority of situations, Gore, you're better off actually having Brimstone on one champion or not at all. Because if you actually put it on someone like Nekmuthar, it's never going to go on a champion that can activate it. You might get like 1,000,000 damage tops. You know, because it's, well, not even 1,000,000. How much does it do? It does like 100,000 and spreads 25%. So you might get like 4 to 5 activations if you don't control it. If you can control it, you can get like 5,000,000 damage. If you can't, you'll probably get less than 1,000,000. Yeah, so this is all about minimum requirements rather than like what everything you want. Obviously, there's ways you can improve it, but this is generally what you want. Why don't burn scale on high levels? Because maximum HP is more valuable. So burn is consistent from normal all the way through to nightmare, right? You're going to do, was it 20,000 per head or 40,000 on the head that doubles it? Like whatever difficulty you're on. So HP burn is good in the initial phase, but it actually falls off in terms of scaling, right? So if you had a choice between someone like a Royal Guard or a Husk, or someone like a Teela, the Royal Guard and Husk will outdamage the Teela on Nightmare, because maximum HP is stronger, because the enemy heads have more HP, so you can scale it harder. But on hard, then HP burn is much more valuable, because essentially they're kind of like tying the position for max HP, because the HP heads are not as big. But burns in Hydra are fixed. So burn in Hydra is fixed. So it doesn't scale off max HP, so it doesn't scale. Which means in normal, it's not bad, it's quite good. Although I would argue you then have a different way of weighting it, right? So there's 3 ways. Let's just move this over here a second. Right, there's 3 ways you can deal damage in Hydra, okay? There's Hex, there is Burn, there's direct damage, and then there is max HP, okay? There are incidentals, like War Master is incidental, but predominantly this is the way you deal damage, okay? These are the ways that you can deal damage. Now, here's what happens on the difficulties, right? Move this down here. And I include Hex because actually it's quite valuable. I don't want to merge that. So we've got Nightmare, Brutal, Hard, Normal. Okay. So when you're dealing damage here, Hex is pretty much better in the high and the low. All right, so I would put this. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to say it like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Best, worst, okay? So this would be 1. I would say this would be 3, 2, 1, okay? And I'll explain why in a second. HP burn is 1, 2, 3, 4. Direct damage is 4, 3, 2, 1. Max HP is 4, 3, 2, 1. And War Master is probably like consistent, right? I don't really think it changes. Now, the reason why I've done it like this, okay? If we just put... can we do it like color scales? Is there a color scale that's going to make it make sense? Oh, look, we can do little arrows. That could be quite cool. Look at all these little cool things you learn about Excel. I'll do. So, the reason why I'm kind of showing it like this is as you go up difficulty, the value of maximum HP goes down. Goes up, sorry. I should do it the other way around. This would be easier if I did this. Sorry, it's just easier if I do it like this. One, 1, so that's 3. Probably... I feel like it's good good throughout. It kind of loses a little bit of value there. It doesn't really matter because it depends on how it scales, right? What I would say is Hex is probably like really good for Nightmare, and there I would say it's a little bit worse in the middle, right? So the reason why I'm saying it's like this, okay? When you start with a Hydra head, like we can look at some of the information here. So we can basically go to the stages tool over here. And I can, why is that taking me there? I told you to take me to, how did it take me to the champion there? That's really annoying. That's the champion tier list. If I get to the right, no, that's the raid tools. If I get to the right page, this will be great. Okay, so when we look at Hydra, okay, and we look at, say, let's just pick rotation 4. When we're on normal, the head's maximum, the highest amount of HP you've got is 1 million or 600,000, okay? So if you've got 600,000 to 1 million, let's just do a kind of like similar thing here. Let's go high and low, right? So let's just take these here. Let's put this. Spread out here. Spread it out here. Spread it out here. Merge this. So we go high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, right? So let's just say normal's got 1 million. Numbers. And this lowest is about 600,000. Let me just open this and go to hard. Hard has got about 2 million to 1.2. So 1.2 to 2. And then we've got brutal is 3 to 1.8. Mischief, you could maybe say, well, most of them are like 2.5, but we'll do it to 1.8 so it's consistent. So 1.8 to 3 million. I think we need another 0 there. And then when you get to Nightmare, Nightmare goes up to sort of 3.8 million to 2.4 million. Obviously, we've got like Head of Suffering. I always ignore the Head of Suffering because it has so much defense and so much HP and different things that you can't really do much estimations around it. I always look at Head of Decay as the tankiest head and Mischief as the squishiest head. So that's got about 2.4, we'll call it 2.5 to 3.8, okay? So 388, 25, I think that's okay, right? So those are the HP numbers. Let me move this over a little bit, okay? So a HP burn is either going to do 20,000 across the board, or it's going to do 40,000, right? So there's one head that does 40,000. I can't remember which one it is. Or it's going to do that divided by 2, right? That's the maximum value of HP burn. Max HP will do 10% of the target head. Okay, so it will do this. Okay, now obviously you've got to hit the cap. We know these things, but I'm just trying to basically show you an example. Now, when you're doing direct damage, this depends on the target's defense. Now, my Whisper, for example, on Brutal can do about 1.1 million. When I go to normal, I can do a lot more. So I'm going to put like an arbitrary number in here just so that we can do some estimations. The idea is if you're hitting something with direct damage, your damage reduction is changing. So the way we can do this, and the easiest way we can do this is we can basically go set a damage reduction equation for these things, right? So if we just do that and we do defense, do exactly what we've just done now. What's the highest defense? 6.259 or 3.5, okay? 6.259. I make that a number. Format painter, that. So 6295 or 3,500. Let's just call it like that. So that's Nightmare. When we go down to Brutal, that is 4.6 to 2.7, give or take. Obviously, the Suffering head has a lot more, but we just said we're not looking at Suffering head. So let's just do 4,600 to 700. And then we've got Hard. It's 3,743 to 2,000, so 3.7 to 4,000 to 2,000. And then normal is going to be 2.5 to 1.4. Okay. So those are the defenses. Oops. So what you end up having is a damage reduction percentage. Let me just get my other open. There's a lot of Excel going in here because what I wanted to do was give people like the fundamentals. I think we've talked a lot about Hydra, but we've never actually gone down into the sort of the dumpster of fundamentals. Fundamentals of Hydra, right? So I'm going to assume we've got a decreased defense. Okay. I'm going to assume we've got a decreased defense. So, if you hit for, let's just say that you've got an ability that hits for 100, let's call it 200,000 damage. Okay, let's just call it 200,000 damage. We could put a number up here, like maybe just have like direct damage of like 200,000. Let's start with 200,000. You know, some people might argue you can get like some like turvols that can hit a lot harder than that. Fine, we can argue that, but let's just do an example here, okay? And then what we can do is we can basically scale our damage based on the amount of damage reduction the enemy is going to have, okay? So what we're essentially doing here is evaluating the way that doing direct damage scales. What I mean by direct damage is not maximum HP. It is not HP burn or any debuff, right? We're just talking about me hitting a target using a normal ability, using a like an attack-based damage dealer, right? So what you're seeing here is this is consistent. Okay? So if we now copy the exact same equation, and if I put this down the bottom here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show like HP burn versus max HP versus, and then we're going to do versus direct. Yeah. And then we're going to copy that, and then we're going to do that. And then we're going to copy that one more time and do this. And we're going to basically say, okay, direct versus max. Direct versus HP burn. And in here we're going to have max HP versus direct. And max versus HP burn, right? So what we can basically do is go, okay, so my HP burn is going to be doing 20,000. We probably need to evaluate like HP burn rather than a single debuff. We probably need to look at it more as like how many activations. Like obviously direct damage is a single hit. Activation here is there, but obviously it's doing it times 4. So let's just assume, let's multiply HP burn by times 4, okay? Because let's just assume you're doing it all heads. Okay, so the worst case scenario is you'll do 20,000 times 4. The best case scenario is you'll do 20,000 times 3 plus 40,000, okay? That's your best case scenario. Because there's one or two head, I think there's one head that basically takes double damage. So these are the best case scenarios. So in comparison, we can basically go, how much more does this do? And we can just do like a conditional format here that says greater than 0, give me green. Less than 0, give me red. Okay. So we can basically do a straight comparison here. We can basically say, well, how much does this do versus that? Okay. And when we scale this across here, just make sure this math is done numbers. And then we should be able to copy this, and we do the exactly same thing. So now we're going to say, how does a maximum damage work against this? And how much does maximum damage work against that? How much does this work against this? And how much does that work against that? So what we're actually doing here is we're looking at the numbers. And you can see what I'm talking about, okay? In a single instance of a HP burn activation, obviously you've got activators that can activate for all enemies. Fine. I don't actually know how AoE activation works. Does it just do like 4 individual activations? We could do an extra one for activation, okay? But you can see what I'm talking about. HP burn starts beating maximum HP on lower levels. But as soon as you start getting up to higher levels, HP burn is losing out big time. Yeah, it's losing out big time. It's still doing more than direct damage, but it's not at this point here, okay? So you can see that HP burn actually loses out to direct damage on a lower scale, which is why direct damage is considered like the best here. I would say in terms of priority on normal, it should be direct damage, HP burn, maximum HP. In terms of nightmare, you can see actually it's max HP, probably burns, and then direct damage. But burns and direct damage are close. So when we're looking at damage dealers, for Nightmare, I should be looking for maximum HP, right? The priority for Nightmare should be this. Direct damage. Should be max HP. Not direct damage. Like, direct damage is probably 3 here, if I'm being honest. And that's probably 2, if we scaled it better. Hex is great. War Master is great, right? Doesn't really matter. That's where you should be looking at putting your primary damage. I would even put that maybe as 1, but it's optional, right? You could probably do like that. That should be a priority. For Brutal, we can look here and we can say, well, maximum HP clearly is better. Still better. But now we've kind of got like this differential where it's probably the same, right? I would say it's probably the same. Hard, then, when we look at it, we can see that burns are getting closer now. The low end of a burn is doing about the same thing as a low end of a max HP nuke, whereas a high end of a burn is not able to do the same as a max HP. So now it kind of becomes like a 3. Burns are probably a 2. Direct damage is probably, if we look at it, better overall. Like, I would say maybe direct damage is starting to win against both of them on the low scale, but losing quite hard on the high scale. So direct damage is probably like a 2. Hex is still 4, pretty much throughout the thing. War Master's 4. I mean, the thing about Hex and War Master is War Master will be consistent throughout, I'm pretty sure, because it'll just do like high damage. It will get better as the HP goes up, so we should probably do it like that. Hex is all about how much damage you deal, right? So if you're depending on burn, Hex is a 1. If you're depending on direct damage, it's a really high priority on normal, but really poor on Nightmare. If you're doing maximum HP on Nightmare, then Hex is really good. Playroom send out discounts for purchases. No, they've never done it before. Do you have a video or live streams on gear cleansing? We gear cleanse on a live stream pretty much every other day, probably, feels like. I don't have a specific one. If you want specific guides, Hellhades does a better job than I do in terms of gear cleansing. Hey, Lusa. Lusa is a much better Hydra player than I am. So yeah. So when I mention in terms of like why HP burn is less important, because I'm starting at Nightmare, I'm looking down the range. I'm going, why would I bring a HP burn that is 280,000 less damage than my max HP nuke? That's what I'm saying. And you can see on a lower scale, the best way to do damage is direct, right? Until you start getting into the higher levels of hard, actual direct damage will yield you more. Even if we drop this to 100,000, like, even if you're hitting all, like, if you hit more, like 400,000, if you can scale, then obviously, you know, direct wins every single time. If you have a very strong damage dealer, like a Turvold, like a Whisper, it will out-damage a HP burn every single time on all difficulties. It will never out-damage a max HP nuker on the higher scales, but it will 100% out-damage a burner on all difficulties. Wizgar a good healer for Mischief Tank? I've never really tried Wizgar. I don't even know if I have him. So, does that make sense to everyone? Why I'm basically saying that HP burn is not as valuable as people might think. Yes, it deals with the poison cloud, but I'm finding that I'm taking Geomancer out of teams now because I can actually get more damage from a Husk or a Royal Guard or a Gnut or a Whisper, right? Because direct damage on max HP is just out-damaging burns. Now, you could use an Activator. So if you have an Activator, you'd have like 4 instances of 4. Okay, which obviously would make this stronger then, yeah? Like, if we were basically saying this would be, like, 4 instances of this, then you would have... Assuming that's how it works, I'm just going to guess that's how activators work. Then, you know, HP burn goes up a little bit in value, right? But it's still breaking even with maximum HP. Assuming that's how it's working. Now, one thing I did make a note of is if we're AoEing everything, then obviously we need to make this 4. And then you see HP burn is even worse. Right? Because essentially, if we're going to AoE the HP burn, then we're going to AoE the max HP damage. So my Geomancer cannot outdamage my Royal Guard, but that's because I've got a reflex refresh Royal Guard. So variable, you are annoying me, so you get a timeout. I'm not a monkey to be toyed with. Don't come into people's streams and say, acknowledge me, people. Tell me. Look at me. That's not how you talk to people. It's very impolite. Right, so. So, where were we? So, that's how we're going to be dealing with damage. So, primarily, I'm looking at max HP first, then direct, then I will look for burns. When we were initially looking at this, so if I just take away the multipliers so that we look at it exactly, this isn't damage per turn. This is basically how much damage on a single ability to a single target, right? So if I'm attacking 200,000 to a single target as direct damage, applying the damage reduction percentages, this is with decreased defense on. So we can basically look at it and go, one activation of a HP burn on a single target does 1 set of damage to that target and all other enemies, 1 maximum HP on 1 target to 1 enemy, and 1 instance of direct damage to 1 target, right? So we're looking at it individually. Obviously, there's multiplications and spreading and AoE effects that go along with that, but this is just a helpful way of looking. If I'm attacking 1 target with one of these effects, which one is stronger? And you can see there's a natural deviation that max HP gets better as you get higher, burns and direct damage gets better the lower you are. That's kind of like the TLDR of this. Does Husk outdamage someone like an Artak? He will outdamage an Artak in Nightmare, yes. So. Yeah, so I mean, HP burn activators, if they're AoE, will activate 4 times. But then if you're doing an AoE max HP, that activates 4 times. So this is essentially what happens when 1 burn activates across all 4 enemies. So you get 1 proc of, say, 40,000 if you've got that head out, and then 3 procs of 20,000. So essentially 1 activation of a HP burn on a single target is worth 100,000 damage. 1 activation of a maximum HP on a single target is worth this amount of damage. And 1 instance of a single target attack doing 200,000 damage is worth this amount of damage. So that's the way to do it. So Husk has a provoke. The only reason why I use Royal Guard is because I've got triple refresh. But Husk can also be used, right? Husk is probably more preferential. Affinity is also a consideration. If you're in normal, your best bet for damage for normal is you destroy, you basically try to target a single head, decapitate it, and then whack it really hard. Because when you're hitting something that's dead... So here's the other factor about HP burn, by the way. And maximum HP. One thing you should take into consideration is what happens if you've got a decapitated head, right? What actually happens is this gets multiplied by 3, I think. Because it's 200% more. So it's 1 point... Pretty sure it's 3. Okay? So this, like if it was 1, it would be the same instance, right? So it gets multiplied by 3. So what happens when you have a decapitated head? Well, things are going to change up again, right? So now we've got... It only applies to direct damage because maximum HP still cannot exceed even with the bonus. Okay? So it cannot exceed even with the bonus. So when we're doing this, we can basically do this. So how does Decapitation work? So Decapitation versus that. And that versus that. So you can see, actually speaking, Decapitation has a big factor. So when you're talking about normal, your best bet for dealing damage is you kill a head, and then you hit that head incredibly hard with any very strong damage dealer. Because you're going to be doing more damage than any other effect in the game on normal. See you later, Kingston. Saf, am I wrong? But burn has 2 instances, 2 stacks. To be fair, it should be calculated as 1 hit, so you would need double burns damage. Why would it have 2 instances? When you activate a burn, you'll activate on the target. You basically activate to all targets, right? So essentially, it's either going to be 40,000 for the head that doubles burn, and then 3 instances of 20,000, or there'll be 4 instances of 20,000. So there'll always be 80,000. 2 stacks. Why would it be 2 stacks? I don't know what you mean by 2 stacks. You can't stack HP burn. There's only one ever HP burn that you can activate. Are we still running? Oh, we finished that. How much more bonus have we got? 3,200. So that's like... How many more runs is that? 8. 8 runs going here quickly. The debuff is 2 turns. Oh, isn't it? Yeah, but I'm not actually looking at how many turns it lasts for. I'm just looking at a single comparison, right? You could basically get a maximum HP back-to-back, right? So how long it lasts for is irrelevant. What I'm talking about is how much damage impact does it have. I understand it there's obviously, that's what I said. There is factors around this. AoE activation, the fact that HP burn activates on every single enemy. Maximum HP is AoE. Direct damage might be AoE, right? There's lots of different things. I'm literally doing a single instance of that effect happening so we can compare. But you can see what I mean about the Decapitation bonus. For normal, the best way to deal damage for normal is actually delete a head, kill a head, and then hit it. Hit it really hard. Hit it as hard as you can with lots of different damage dealers, because you can ramp up your damage very quickly on normal. You can still do it on the squishier heads for hard, but it loses value as you get higher up, right? But this is why direct damage actually still can be quite valuable. This is why champions like Whisper are still really good, because if you've got a very, very strong single target damage dealer and they have enough time to actually be doing damage to a decapitated head, then they can match on some scale a maximum HP nuke, because HP burn is capped throughout. Direct damage, maximum HP is capped throughout. Whether or not you've decapitated the head or not, you get no bonus with those abilities. So Decapitation only benefits actually hitting a target. Is this with Hex spread damage included? No. So naturally, Hex will not activate on burn. So this is no Hex, right? So we can basically say no Hex. Yeah, we can do that. Burn Dutch. Yep. Okay, so we basically reduce this and we can say no Hex, yeah? There's no Hex on this. There is Hex on this, so that will help. And let's do that. Lift this up. There's Hex on this, and there's Hex on this, okay? So the Hex bonus is 10% for a single target or 2% for AoE. So GNU gets a lot of value from Hex. Royal Guard, not so much, right? Because if you think all you're doing on a Royal Guard is 380 times 0.02. So Royal Guard is not going to be so great. However, if you're doing it on GNU, he's going to get 38,000, right? So GNU is essentially 400% more efficient for Hex, right? Gnut specifically is 400% more efficient for Hex. Now, direct damage, this is why Whisper's really strong. You put Hex up with her, she pumps damage a lot more. So you can essentially say for a single target direct decapitation, you can add 10% more damage to this. You can't for burn. So you see what you're saying, like, see what I'm saying about burn. Burn, when you start adding Hex, when you start getting higher difficulties, actually becomes quite a low damage source. It's not that good. I had someone give me an example of Sulfurion out-damaging an Acrisia, but I was like, it's on hard. So yes, Acrisia can't do as much damage, but you put it on normal, you put it on Nightmare, like the Acrisia damage is going to go from 200,000 to nearly 400,000. So she's immediately just going to automatically double her damage. So that is an important factor. What about Geo and his passives for damage? He's okay. The problem I find with Geo is trying to sustain those up. It's better when there's a Wrath Head. Geomancer is a good damage source with his passive, but he's not better than a maximum HP nuker optimized or a very strong single target direct damage dealer, in my opinion. Yeah, Martial Ed, because his A1 is not AoE, very strong. It's very strong. Who's the dirty Will and Chris on hard? If someone in Discord was, I think it's Guta in Discord, we were debating, is Sulfurion good? I personally think Sulfurion's not really a void legendary. He thinks it is, so to be fair, it was a bit like that. So the summary basically in priority should be strong single target, max HP, and burn. That's the priorities for me, particularly for damage. Okay? So, oh, it's you, Gort, is it? There you go. People with names. Yeah, me and Gort have been having a debate about Sulfurion's quality. And I think I was probably a little bit harsh calling him like an overrated Mordecai. That's probably a little bit of an extreme statement. But yeah, it was that example, wasn't it, Gort? We were basically looking at it and you said he outdamaged Acrisia, and we're like, well, there was no decreased defense, there was no weaken, and it was on hard, so it wasn't a fair assessment of Acrisia. It's not to say that Sulfurion didn't actually do a lot of damage. It's very good, actually. As I said, Sulfurion for me is actually a very good burner. I just think for a Void Legendary, he needed more. So yeah. So let's get back to what the original thing is. That's a good little damage assessment, kind of to show you where the value is. Decapitation is a very powerful impact. It's very powerful. It'll never really match like a max HP nuke on a high end, right? Especially when you start thinking like if you can get a Gnut on a good affinity with Suffering, that pumps damage, right? That is basically a 1.5 million. If you think of the Suffering Head on Nightmare, that has got 5.143 million. So that means it's a 514,000 hit from Gnut. So Gnut is going to do 514000. He's going to do that 3 times. Okay, and then he's going to basically take that and he's going to do 10%, and he's going to do 10% 3 times because he's going to spread it. Okay, so Gnut's A3 against a Suffering Head is going to do 2.4 million if the other heads are alive, right? Because he's going to do 10% damage to those other enemies. Here's the kicker. When he actually attacks the head of Suffering, the Hex component gets multiplied. I'm pretty sure this is the way that it works. It gets multiplied, which means actually it's going to do a lot more than this. I'm pretty sure when you attack the Suffering Head, it's going to do another 200% damage. So times 3. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I need to check it. I'm pretty sure it's going to do that. That's what I'm pretty sure a Suffering Head attacks, because when you have Hex on a dead head, the damage that the Hex does multiplies. Yeah, he hits for like 550,000. So he's going to do like that 3 times. So he should spread a 152,000 to all other heads and then whack it. Unless Hex apply is not true damage, which I don't think. I think it is true damage. The biggest problem with last rotation with Gnut was he was weak affinity, which was a problem because he kept weak hitting. So yeah, if someone able to confirm that when you use a Hex on a decapitated head, is it doing essentially 400,000 on the Hex or 150,000. It could just be that it's not multiplying because it's a... I thought Hex multiplied. I thought the Decapitation effect multiplied the Hex damage. I thought it did. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But you can see, even if you don't get the Decapitation bonus for the Hex, it's still a 2 million hit. Now, if you had an AoE, right, GNU is 500,000 more damage. It doesn't, right? Okay, I don't know where I got that from. Maybe I was testing something or something. Maybe it only does it if you actually, like... I suppose it is if the raw damage. I thought it did. I don't know why. So you can see the difference here. With a GNU on Suffering Head, GNU easily outdamages an AoE max HP nuke. And he needs less gear because he doesn't get the AoE penalty. GNU is very, very strong. This may be a little bit niche, but what about bombers like on Rat, normal, hard? Can it compete with direct damage in any shape or form? It depends on how you can scale the bombs. So it will do... So, for example, if you've got a 7,000 attack Gnishak, which obviously in itself is a problem because it's squishy, you can multiply that with 1.5 because you can put increased attack on. You can put weaken out as well. So that will give it a 1.25 multiplier. His bombs will do times 10 damage. Then you can basically multiply it by 1.25. So his bomb will do around about 131,000. It's actually quite good. When we put it into the grand scheme of things, where does it sit on the range of damage? It's better than a HP burn. It's better than a low scale max HP. It does true damage, so it doesn't matter about scaling. It's going to do 131,000 from like the first minute to the last minute, right? The highest to the lowest difficulty. So that will be quite good. Now, Duchy, the reason why War Mother isn't doing the damage she should is because when they buffed her damage, her skill description says she does double damage to bosses, but they buffed her bomb multiplier. They forgot to buff her boss multiplier. So she no longer does double damage. She actually does like 70% more damage. It's like an 8.5 instead of a 10, something like that. So she's not got as strong bombs as Gnishak. Dandabear gifting 5 memberships. Thank you so much. He is a monster. I feel like I need to have like some sort of counter for the amount of gifted memberships that Dandabear has done now. He's a great supporter. I wish I had the attention to get a good Hydra team together. I really just want to use Helicath and Artak, Rector Drath if I don't want to get feared. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, Sam? I'm giving you lots of information at the moment. I understand this is probably overwhelming for a lot of people. What I'm going to be doing is reducing this down into a summary, and then I will follow up with a video probably that actually breaks all this down into a summative video. But it's good to do it on a stream because we can have like a feedback loop with guys in chat basically saying, oh, have you checked this? What about this? You know, questions like, what about a bomber? Don't really get that same level of interaction in a video. So, but I mean, Gnishak bombs, like if you can get a good, like consistent rate of bombs, the only thing I would say about bombs is they're a debuff and they take up debuff spots. So what you don't want to do is a bit like poisons, put too many debuffs on the decay head. Now you can't provoke. But 131,000, it's pretty good. But that is the problem with Gnishak. Bomb poisons. If you put a bomb on the provoke head, you're never provoking that head. It might be interesting if we were to look at Bomb Girl. She might be interesting here because she's going to place the weaken for you, and she's going to be putting loads of bombs out, and she will spread those bombs. You know, they're not as strong. They're not as strong. She can scale her attack, so it's only like, what, a 7... I think it's a 7 multiplier, isn't it? Let's just check what her multipliers are. So her bomb is... I'm just going to check what her multipliers are. Will it be a spreadsheet? Yeah, I'll when I post a video, I'll do the spreadsheet. Yeah. Yeah, so obviously if you put an aura in, you'll get more attack. The only issue with bombing... with bomb champions in general is because you have to scale it off attack, they're generally very squishy. So that is a problem. How's CVC going? We are at... It's going to be a tight one. 4.4 to 4.7. I've done so far 125,000 points. I'll probably start some Spider now in a minute because I think I've used up all my bonus for there. I do just want to run some Sand Devil in the background while we're waiting. So I'm just going to set up... I'm going to set up a run here, get these to max level. Or next to max level, auto refill. Boom. Why is this not changing? Maybe it'll change in a minute. Let this run. It's not the best points, but I do want to upgrade something for the monkey. I haven't done any Hydra CVC yet, and our clan is struggling. So, would 2 Hanomach spread of bombs, and then they would be the same damage? Yes. The damage of the bomb is based on the person who's applied it. So whoever applies the bomb, that's the damage the bomb will do. It's not based on who spreads it or anything else like that. What are the damage dealer priorities for normal? Strong single target, burn, then max HP. Right, so the priority here, as you can see, strong, direct, burn, then max HP. Yeah, I'm just going to check what her multipliers are now. Yeah, so 7.5 times attack, right? So, and she'll always get that, right? Isbale will always get that because it is based on the second hits of bombs. Debuffs placed by the skill are 20,000, so it's always going to do that. So that one will actually be a 98,000 hit. We missed added damage through shield. What do you mean by that, Darky? So bombs, are they actually good? Well, they're matching what a HP burn would do. I think if you had a good bomber who could get the bombs out scaling and not cause any problems in the team, then it's potentially viable. The only downside you've got is if you index too hard into bombs are going to take up debuff bar spots, and then have you got enough debuff slots available for your things like your decrease speed, your decrease defensive block buffs, your decrease attack, right? It's not like a dragon where all you need is poison, or bomber where all you need is bombs. You actually need space for other things. Yeah, Corpulent Cadaver does not exist. Do bombs activate Hex? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure Hex has to be direct damage. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure Hex has to be direct damage. I gotta find a champion that can do Hex. I think it's 151. Find all. No, so it's 441. So I'm just trying to find the hex. The hex variant, so I can see what it does. Right, okay, so it has to be on 6,000 kinds. It has to be on actual direct damage. So, for example, Akimtom's passive will activate damage because he converts poisons into direct damage. That'll activate Hex. But poisons, bombs, burns don't activate Hex. No, Gnishak's poisons are going to kill him. It's just going to overfill. It's too bad. It's too much. Would Cupidus be decent for normal? Cupidus needs Venus. But he's not bad. He's a burner, right? If you use him as a burner with extra damage, he's pretty good. But he needs Venus, really. You got to remember, Venus gives his A1 bonus damage. All of his entire kit gets like 20% more damage because of Venus. It's a big deal. Do the guaranteed protected poisons help with Gnishak? No, they actually cause problems. That's what we're saying about Gnishak. The reason why Gnishak isn't good is because it actually creates problems because it overfills the debuff bar, right? Mainly with this Decay Head is actually why I'm looking at these teams, because I want to take Mithrala out of some of my teams, because Mithrala's random attack, because I have too many debuffs in one of my teams, will often overfill the debuff bar. Then I can't provoke because I've got too many debuffs, and Gnishak would be that on like steroids. So I think Isbale could do it because Isbale has weaken, has deep bomb spreading, but she also can have the ability to activate the bombs, like force the bomb detonation down. and her bombs are pretty good. So I think Isbale in Hydra is actually a pretty good, like, shout. Maybe if YST still has Hydra to do, you can get him to try it if he's got Isbale. I haven't got one on my account, unfortunately, because I didn't keep one. Because obviously we needed it for Emic. But yeah, Isbale could do it. Maybe like War Mother, because you get decreased attack at the same time. But War Mother's bombs are a little bit lower. But if you, the main thing to look at here is it's not that much worse than a HP burn. So if you can get the bombs consistently flowing, is bombing a viable solution? Yes, if you can keep them alive. But this is scaling on a 7,000 attack. Obviously, if you drop it to 5,000 attack, well, burns become, you know, better. If you drop into 4,000 attack, burns become much better. And you don't need to keep the champion alive, so, you know. So, based on everything we've talked about, right, we need to fill these roles, okay? We need at least 2 DPS champions, right? 2 champions that are going to deal damage. I need someone who's going to do block buffs. I need a Hex. Hex can be a cursed set, but Hex with cursed has to be someone who has AoE abilities. People like Krisk, very good for cursed set, right? Because he's all AoE. Nekmuthar would be a great curse set champion if you didn't want to run him in Relentless. I feel like Relentless is better. Champions with full AoE kits really, really benefit, or at least an A1 AoE is really good for Cursed because you want to just keep applying it. Cursed will also apply on weak hits, so it doesn't matter about Poison Cloud. You can keep applying Cursed. You just need AoE. Yes, Mashaled Cursed is great. Bivald, basically someone who's got consistent, regular AoEs. It doesn't necessarily have to be all AoE, but someone who can consistently AoE. You don't want just one AoE on a 4-turn cooldown. You'll never get it out. It'd just be a nightmare. So, you know, Venus is great, double AoE. So, I'm in the same boat as you, Gurk, and I'm farming Ice Golem like mad to try and get some more cursed pieces because I sold it all when it was heal reduction, because who needs that, right? Who needed that? We need to basically get some more rewards here. Yeah, White Dryad is a great option. A1. So, we need someone who's going to do Hex or Cursed. We need a block debuffs. We need someone who does decreased defense, decreased speed, decreased attack. We need a healer of some sort, heal or leech. Right? We need someone who's going to help keep us alive. We need a defensive support, which is like ally protection, strengthen, shielding. We need someone who's going to be able to manipulate our turn meter, and then we need a torment solution. Okay? So this is kind of like the framework we're looking at here. So what I'm going to do now is I want to just put this up here. Like that, like that. Just make sure this is still showing properly. And then what I want to do is I'm going to try and see if I could be smart about this. Could be awkward. We'll find out. Bear with me. Oops. You've lost me for a second. Go properties. Nice. Okay. Oh. Look at this, professional content creator. And then I want to just do that. That. There we go. I'll make it bigger. And then, where am I going to stick this? Where am I going to stick this? I need to zoom this in a second so we can see what we're doing. I need to stick this somewhere. Let's just put it up here a second. Okay. Bit of a scuffed change there. Professional content creator. I'm basically putting the team up now, so as I'm filling it in, you should be able to see what I'm doing without actually me having to switch displays. Okay. So we can look at basically the champions I've got here, and we can make a decision about, you know, what we're gonna put in. Put it on my forehead, right? Yeah, nobody's attacking me at the moment, Bob. It's really annoying. Do you farm food when doing Sand Devils? Yes, I do. You can see I'm doing it right now. I've got food going in my team. Pretty much is always winning this. Wait, we just won another one. This is what I want. I need the superiors so I can ascend something. Yeah, so you can see I'm using food all the time. Right, so the first thing we're going to cover off is who are our most potent DPS. I'm definitely going to put Gnut in first for my Nightmare team. 100%. Gnut is going in first because he is the best damage dealer that I have on Nightmare. Now, some people were basically saying to me, should I move Michinaki up into... Oh, yeah, Provoke. Sorry, you could write Provoke. Thanks, Annex. Should I move Michinaki as my secondary DPS into Nightmare? That's what some people have been saying. Is Supreme Elhaim viable as normal? Yeah, absolutely. Single. If you've got a very, very strong damage dealer, viable in normal. Probably better than anything else. So Supreme Elhaim probably falls into that. She doesn't get as much advantage because she doesn't kill anyone, so she doesn't get the extra turns, but she could do it. Yeah, so don't worry about builds. We're talking about content, right? We're just basically talking about who fills the roles. So if we basically have Michinaki here, then Michinaki also covers the Hex, okay? That also covers the Hex. Now, we probably need decreased defense. That is Michinaki. Now, I'm pretty sure Michinaki has decreased attack. You know, and we do get a little HP burn. I'm not really worried about that. We get buff removal with Michinaki. Okay, we don't actually have that here as a requirement, but it should be really. So we now need a block buffs, probably, which I would suggest. So this is what you can do. We are fixing this view, by the way. Actually, let me do something a second. Let me do this on the... It's easier if I do it on here. Get a better view. Okay, this is a better view. We get more on the screen. We'll do it on staging. Fun. Get you a little preview of the new layouts. So, what I was basically trying to demonstrate is we've fixed the drop down so you can actually read them again. Eventually, I kind of want to make these drop downs typable, a bit like when you're looking for champions and team suggestions. I plan on making this typable. If I get time, I'll do it for the release that we're planning this week to fix all these different issues. What you're seeing on screen now hopefully will be live this week. But what we want here is basically block buffs, right? So you can put this in here, and this will give me, when I hide this, all of my block buffs options. So this is really handy for people now because we've expanded the view so you can get more champions on the screen. So when people send in those screenshots like, which champion should I max next? You can actually use the optimizer much better than before, because before it would be like, oh, I haven't got really much view. Now it'll actually give you like, before it would like limit you to like 6 or 5. You can actually go to 10 row by row now. So it's better. And obviously if I zoom it out, then it will, it'll give me more, right? So the further out I go, it'll give me more. So if you've got a big wide screen, eventually we'll have it so that you can have as many as you want. It'll just resize depending on the screen size you're on. So like that. That's what we'll do for now. So hopefully we're going to release this week. Can you detonate Gleeshak's poisons? You can, if you have a poison detonator. But then you're just like, you're forcing 2 champions. It gets really awkward. I can't do Nightmare, so for Brutal it is 2 Gnut viable. Gnut is viable for sure. That's the next stage, John. I haven't looked at it just yet because I'm trying to do an awful lot of changes and trying to obviously fix problems, and I don't want to keep, you know, adding more new things. But long term, this is like a step towards what people have been asking for, which is the ability to use the full width of their monitor rather than just a small proportion. So that's kind of the goal long term. But at least in the immediacy, we're now scaling based on container size, which we weren't before. So, wait, how do you have the entire filter menu show on your screen? Need to zoom out to 80% since the update. Because this is on the staging clicky. we have revamped it. I'm working on basically redesigning and fixing a lot of the UI issues that we've been having. So what you're seeing right now is something that's going to be coming in the next couple of days. It's on the staging environment where our internal testers are running. So I'm giving you a bit of a preview. It's just easier for me to do what we're doing right now, which is us sit in chat and figure out what the best teams are. Absolutely fine. So what I can basically do here with the filters is I can say, show me every single champion in my account that has got block buffs. And this is my options, right? So these are my options for block buffs in the game. So we could go for a Cantra. You know, we could, if we want to as well, do some targeting. The targeting's a little bit weird. It should be better now. All enemies, right? Even better. Yeah, just changed it, Mini. And Dutchy, you got it. Hey, Turgle. So, these are the best options I've got for AoE block buffs. Not all of them are the 100%. We know that Fenax is like 75%. Conditional with Aileel. It's not ideal. Pretty much the best options are Uko, Cantra, Ugo, Wukong. Deliana maybe. And then you're really going down and into the doldrums of, okay, Norog and Umbral can do it, but that's all they do. Really what you're looking for is champions that can do more than one job. Now, I quite like Cantra. And I would use Cantra on my Nightmare team because she's got 5-star Brimstone. Okay? So in this instance, Brimstone is very good because I can make sure I target it. So for block buffs, I could bring a Cantra. It's not 100%. It's the only downside. But she would provide the provoke and provide general support. Or we could go Ugo. Or both. It's tricky. What I will do first is I think we will get the Necmo in, right? We're going to do Necmothar first, because Necmothar is decrease attack, decrease speed, increase speed, heal, leech. Right, Necmothar is pretty much everything. That covers a lot of our roles with one champion there. Would you say Illusinia is an option? Illusinia is a budget block buffs. Yeah, I would say Illusinia would be something I would have gone through. If you get Wukong now, though you're going to go to Wukong, right? Yeah, Necmo. So what we're actually missing now, so we've basically filled 3 champions, yeah? We have filled 3 champions here. And we now kind of need to get, like, let me just do format painter here. So we've kind of filled 3 roles. 3 champion slots. So amongst the final 3, I need a Torment solution, a Provoker, I need some sort of defensive support options, I need a block but debuffs, and I need a block buffs. What could be the issue if you're stuck on sorting artifacts? Please wait when optimizing champion. That means it's figuring out how many options there are, EPR. If it's stuck on there for like a long time, then something's going wrong. Just have a look at the extractor. Is the extractor actually listening to you? Is the extractor doing something, right? When you have the extractor open, down here it should show if it's progressing. If it's not doing anything down here, then something's wrong. So Cantra is a great provoke and support debuffer. Let's focus first on... let's have a look at block debuffs as an option first. Right, all allies, block debuffs, right? I don't know why we got instant there. We shouldn't have that. Oh. Load the pictures. It's taking a while. There we go. Right, so who we got for block debuffs here? A Pythian lead, Elva lead. Now, we don't really need Elva because we don't really need increased speed. Elva would give us a lot of healing. I don't have King Dalkaba, unfortunately. I actually wanted him in the first Prism event. I need to know... What do you want me to check? Sorry, what do you want me to check on my my vendor? What am I checking in Sol vendor? Would you consider putting a copy of this spreadsheet on the HH website? It'd be great help for the community. I will definitely try to put those the information I provided in some form of guide on the website. Yes. You bought the monkey. I don't have monkey on the vendor, unfortunately. No, I don't have it. Wukong Sol in Sol vendor. Do you need... So, Wellesley, the only points remaining are the points that are available in the game right now. So if you haven't got enough points from all the events in the available, you will miss out. It changes the vendor. Like, I can show you what my vendor is right now. Hang on. We'll wait for this run to end. I'll show you what's in my vendor. Which Wukong Sol for Hydra? I'm not sure for Hydra. Honestly, I don't know for Hydra. Lightning Cage could help, but it won't help that much. I would say Brimstone, because at least he's got 2 single targets and you can pick it. And you'll get the axes you go through it. Cruelty, maybe. Phantom Touch, maybe. James, thanks for the $5. £5. Hi, sir. I've sent a Discord message after player and discount voucher after you said it wasn't done. Could be worth saying it's a new strategy as of theirs. No, it's not that I said it wasn't done. It's more that I haven't had it. I've seen some people do it, you know. I've seen some people do it, you know. What artifacts did you run on Wukong? Probably I would build him in like the build that I said on my video today. If you haven't seen my video today, it kind of covers all the builds. It's got like a hybrid damage build, yeah? Where it's like you build him for damage, but you build him with enough accuracy as well. And just build him in like raw damage output. Ooh, you got 3 more there. Nice. Yeah, it's different, see? I was debating this Gnut Sol, but then I was like, it's only a bit of stats. It's not really anything. No Wukong. No Wukong here for me today. There is a Ninja Soul as well, but I'm not spending that much essence to basically get a small increase. I do want like a 5-star Ninja, but I find Legendary Souls are so expensive with essence. Until I get my Jintoro up or like Whisper, I'm not looking to spend essence, so... have I got enough essence now for his boots? Not quite. Still need to keep running for that. I'm running to try and get like 7 more. Once I get 7 out, I won't do any more Sand Devil. I'm doing it at the moment just while we're doing this because I need to... I want just enough so I can ascend the boots for points. So, getting back on topic... I use Ninja basically in Sand Devil 25. That's his exclusive and only use now. Do you notice that Taunt buff is not working? It's supposed to work. Taunt is not supposed to be stolen or removed, but you can do all of it. You can steal Taunt. And you can remove Taunt. Yeah, both of those can be stolen and removed. That's by design. Jintoro is used in Clan Boss. So, right, let's get back on target here. Who is our best support? Obviously, everyone's going to go towards Duchess. I understand. That does kind of give me a Veil solution as well. I'm just not a massive fan of Duchess because I find that Duchess almost exclusively has to be paired with either a CD reducer or a buff extender because a 4-turn cooldown on the A2 is too much. So it almost like forces you to pair it with Krisk. And already I'm looking at this team and I'm like, I don't really need Krisk. Because I already have Hex. I already have decreased defense. I already have decreased attack. You know, I already have increased speed. What's he bringing? AoE decreased speed? I've already got that with Necmo. So I don't really see the need for Krisk. So therefore the Duchess loses a bit of value for me. So I'm not a massive fan of Duchess here right now. Pythian could work because it's kind of like Duchess, but you get healing with it. That's an option. And he is obviously built with resistance for arena, so he's built strong. We could go Brogni. We could go Glyphing if we want heal. If we want weaken. There's always Loriaka as well to decrease the resistances. Doesn't heal as much though. So it's kind of like we're looking here. We're trying to figure out who would be the best block debuffs for the team that we're running here. You kind of want healing, if I'm being honest. Like Riho would be very good. Because there's a lot of healing with block debuffs. And you can pick on a single target. But I don't really feel like it feels worth... I don't use Gnut's A2, by the way. Gnut A2 is disabled. You have Morley tankard. I do have Morley. I don't like Morley, though. What about running a cleanser? We can have a look at cleansers. Mithrala, I don't really want to use. You know, Brogni fits that mold. I don't find this... I find that cleansers, there's not that many good cleansers in the game. You know, they're very rare. Like, a Pardon probably comes in as, like, a good cleanse heal support. Ugo, obviously, we haven't figured out our block buffs yet. Ugo could come in as a backup cleanser. I feel like block debuffs, though, you get more than just cleansing, right? Because you also get, like, blocking the poisons. You get loads of things with block debuffs. I just feel like block debuffs just adds more value. It's not just about, like, you know, dealing with things. I just think it adds a lot more value. So... obviously, someone that does... What does Glyphing do? Attacks one enemy has a 30% chance of placing freeze. Applies a debuff spread. Taking one random debuff from one place on all and freeze. That's fine, it won't work. Places a weaken. Fine. Places block debuffs on all allies on a... I think a 4-turn cooldown. Also has a place a freeze. Fills champions, fine. And then the champions... Whenever a champion... It doesn't really matter. It's not good. It's not good, is it? It's not really great. Obviously, Brogni would give me support. And I think Brogni might fit the best. Because Brogni gives us a shield. It gives us an unremovable shield as well. Block debuffs. A backup burn if we need it. And a debuff remover. Yeah, I was thinking about it actually soon, QWERTY. I was thinking about it. So, yeah, I mean, Riho would guarantee... I've got her built in like a 265 speed, 490. She's built pretty well. She's built in a good enough situation, but we would get this perfect body, removes all debuffs from all allies, then heals them on a 3-turn cooldown, and then we get places stun, won't place stat, it'll place burn, decrease defense, weaken, decrease attack, decrease crit rate, and then we would just get some continuous heals as well. So as long as the Mischief Ted is controlled, this would be a pretty good solution. Otherwise, this can kind of cause problems. So maybe we go Riho, actually. I kind of like Riho. Let's go with Riho. And Riho does hit quite hard as well. So if I build it with a little bit of pseudo damage, it'd be quite good. Which she's kind of in pseudo damage as well. That gives us block debuffs and heal leech support. It doesn't give us defense support, though. So now we've basically got 4 champions here. Let's just not do that. So now we need a block bust champion. Basically. And a provoke. It could be Kantra. I feel like Kantra's a good idea here. But the problem with Kantra is she's not, like, guaranteed. Right? It's once Kantra gets going, it's good, but it's not consistent. What's Ninja's EHP? I'm not really sure. I'll have to check. It's low. I don't want him to survive. I need him to die. I wonder if Brogni and Hexset works. His passive works with poisons. Let me see if his passive does 6,000 damage. Then yes. Let me see. Yeah, it will work. Cursed Brogni will work. Put Michinaki. I feel like Michinaki would be better in Relentless though, right? And it's not about Cantrip provoking. I'm pretty comfortable with Cantrip provoking. What I'm concerned about is block buffs. I feel like I need a consistent block buffs. I'm just wondering if Ugo's just the best one here. Like, we've basically got 4 champions, 2 slots. Those 2 slots have to be a provoker, has to be a block buffs option, and it has to be a torment solution / defense support. Like someone with strengthen, right? Or someone that can basically keep my team alive. So Cantra can come in as a provoker and a backup block buffs, but it would just be exclusively be Cantra's provoke. And my provoke gear is not very good, so I'd rather have a provoker by skill rather than by set. My Michinaki's in lethal at the moment, it shouldn't be. Would I consider Vogoth for provoke? Not really. Why not Lady Kimmy? Well, there has to be a buff first. And Uko's problem is if the head revives or there's poison cloud or anything, Uko won't work, so it's not ideal either. I get increased speed from Nekmathar. Nekmathar is covering all of the speed. I don't really need anything else, right? Nekmathar's good. And all Morley is going to do... I suppose Morley would give me a backup revive if something did go wrong. Like, last time I was running this, Knut died, which is awkward. I'm worried about, like, how squishy the team is right now. There's a lot of healing and there's a lot of turn meter boosting, but it's very squishy. There's no strengthen. There's no shield. There's no increased defense. You know, it's very squishy at the moment. I'd be looking at some sort of champion with an increased defense. You know, I'd be looking for a champion with an increased defense, ideally. Or something to keep the team alive. Which, you know, Black Knight is an interesting option. Very good A1 provoker. We got Michinaki for Hex. We don't need that, so. And we got Gnut as well. So Gnut and Michinaki will be more than enough damage, so that's fine. I'm leaning like the... This is where the fusion will become quite handy, right? We could basically run Black Knight or the fusion in that spot. Because the fusion's A1 is one of the best provokers in the game. Yeah, Totoro's not bad. We could drop Riho for Totoro. Potentially. We could drop Riho for Totoro. We would get... Yeah, honestly, guys, provoke is not what I'm worried about right now. What I'm worried about is keeping the team alive. And I'm worried that the team is not tanky enough. You know, and Totoro at the moment is built for... He's built extremely tanky right now because he's built for Iron Twins. So we could use a Totoro. That would give us... Perfect Veil, Shield for himself, increased defense and block debuffs, and a decreased accuracy on some heads, so we can basically pick the heads we don't want. And it's a little bit of reflect. That's really nothing, you know. But it will reflect a little bit of damage. So we could drop Riho. If we drop Riho, that does reduce our healing output, and it does make Cantra a bit more problematic because we need to make sure that we have enough debuffs before Cantra could take a turn. And Torment would be a sort of a support. Yeah, I think maybe let's go with Totoro. That covers us for defensive support, although not ideally. And here. So now we've got Totoro, Nekmo, Michinaki, Gnut. So we've got 2 space spots, one for block buffs and one for provoke. You know, so we've got more options here. Yeah, with this, a lot of provokes. We could go for a husk if we just wanted like a backup provoke. We could go for someone like a Black Knight, because he's a pretty good A1. We could go for someone like a Morley. That's affinity neutral. Morley would give us a backup revive and more turn meter boosting, which could be quite good. I do worry about Morley's ability to provoke, though. I know a lot of people use her. You know, she is booked. But if you only get this one turn provoke, that's 2 turns to get back round to her. It's a long time, isn't it? Tutora Veils. 9 times out of 10 with Torment as well, Keymaster, Gnute can just one-shot it. Gnute will kill the Torment head really fast. Not with her passive. Yeah, I guess. Necmo will help as well. So maybe we just go Morley. That gives us backup turn meter. And then all we need really is a much more reliable block buffs. So we're basically building a team of Gnute, Michinaki. Oh, what have we got going on here? Spill. So we got Gnute, Michinaki, Tutora, Necmo, Morley. So we're just looking to build a team now, or one more spot, right? Yep. So now we're just basically looking at block buffs. Which, you know, I would say we probably don't need Cantra now, because we've got a Provoker. We could go the consistency of Ugo. Ugo would give us more healing as well, which I think this team lacks. Only thing I think that this team lacks is strength and shielding. So I think it's particularly risky for those things. I feel like it might be in trouble for that. Like, does someone have both block debuffs and strength? And probably not. It's probably not going to do a combination here. Like Deliana. Does she do... She's not booked. Attacks all enemies. Block burst on each enemy. Heals all allies. Fills his champion's turn meter by 10%. Places decreased resistance. Where's the strength then? It's only on herself, right? Oh no. Oh, so if she loses HP, we'll get strength then. She'll get a leech as well. Not bad. It's not a bad option. Obviously, we get it with Lydia if we would throw Lydia in. What about a shield? He doesn't. She shields himself. He doesn't shield, does he? Oh, yeah, it's a shield on single. Don't really know where he gets a shield from. From that passer again, I guess. Yeah, so shielding is out. So it's kind of like there's not that many good combos who can do both block debuffs and sort of support options, which is, you know, by and parcel the thing. I feel like it's got to be, you know, a go, right? Just because we get heal reduction cleanse from that Head of Decay. We also get like heals all allies by 20%. We also get like block buffs. We also get like decreased defense. We also get leech. We get a cleanse. There's a backup revive there. We don't need that though. I feel like she's just the best way to go. We basically get a debuff cleanse, guaranteed block buffs, guaranteed decreased defense to help Michinaki if he needs to. An A1 leech on targets if for whatever reason we don't get it out with Necmo. It can have bad affinity, but generally it's okay. Like if you build her like how I have, which is like in like reflex. Like she's in a terrible build right now because I haven't rebuilt her in like literally 6 months. But if you build her super fast in reflex with high accuracy, then she'll probably be fine. Because you just keep rolling it, right? Yeah, I mean, Gerbtuck will give you a lot of damage now. The only thing I worry about Gerbtuck is... I mean, maybe we go Gerbtuck. What do we get? So you get damage on a passive, right? So basically, allies under poison will take more damage. So if we get a poison from the boss or he places poisons, we'll deal 30% more damage. That's not going to help Gnut, but it will help Michinaki, I guess. You know, pretty much those three are not going to help any of my damage dealers. It will increase the resistance, which isn't too bad either. Block buffs. Poison will remove all poisons, then heal them for 30%, and then place a shield on them. And then we get an A1, which will basically place continuous heals. So maybe he's quite good for a heal support. He's not booked, though, and I don't have the books available, which means that this is quite a long cooldown. It's a bit of a problem. So I think for now, we got to go Ugo. I think for now... I mean, we've got Leech as a heal, right? Need to be careful with the A2 on Mischief. Yeah, it's fine though because everyone will be built with resist. So, and even if he steals, it's fine. Is it possible to get by without a block debuff champion? Yeah, you can go cleanser instead. I mean, Gerbtuck, the problem is Gerbtuck will help us deal damage, but Gnut's damage is all max HP, so that's not going to increase because it's a hard cap. And Michinaki's damage is basically from Hex A1 passive and burn, so it's not as much either. No, I don't want Uko. Uko's A2 is not good. Uko's too conditional. I don't have Pintroy, no. What you see on the screen is what I've got. And if we actually make it properly, which is all enemies, it's even better. Well, we do have a Wuji as well. What does Wuji give us? It's not 100%, I know, but... Wuji will give us weaken, because we don't have weaken in this team, do we? Michinaki doesn't weaken. Gnut doesn't weaken because we're not using his A2. Necmo isn't going to weaken. Maybe we go Wuji. I know she's hard to keep alive. But, you know, we can rebuild her. She will then, or like, she'll probably force the mischief target on her. You know, this will help. It'll give us a weaken because we don't have a weaken. What does Rian do again? Rian the Conjurer. She's only a single target. Saf, what should I do with Calvalax? I know who to pair him. I don't know who to pair him with. Calvalax is paired with Theodore 9 times out of 10. Oh. I won't use Gnut's A2 because I've got him in reflex, so I don't use his A2. Gnut's just A3s. The thing is, if Kantra's not going in my main team, she's going in my secondary team, right? So if Kantra's not going in the main team, if she's not the main team provoker, she's the second team provoker. But I feel like Morley might be better in the lead team so that we get more rotate. Like, what you want is rotations background to Gnut. and Michinaki. Yeah, Wuji's squishy as hell. The problem with Wuji is she is squishy, right? So she's only got like a base HP of 10,000 and a base defense of 1134. So she is squishy. But generally, you don't need big HP pools. What you need is high defense. So if I can scale her to be better defensiveness, but this is where like strengthen would be helpful. I don't have it. She would be under perfect veil, which will keep her alive. She will be healing all the time because she's going to be counterattacking all the time. So healing is pretty good from leech and stuff. And I have got like survival instinct on her. I could put that into something else if needs be. So no, Rian's an AoE weaken single target block buffs. She would basically give me weaken, because she's going to counterattack all the time. She would give me weaken. We could try it. Let's try Wuji in here. It's also a secondary damage source. She's actually quite good at dealing damage, so let's try that. Now for second team, we're going to have Royal Guard. So there's our team 1. Team 1 is sorted. Team 2, Royal Guard goes in here. Oops. Okay, Royal Guard goes in. Would you build Wuji over Illicinia if you don't have Ugo? Do I have... I don't think I have Illicinia. Illicinia is the healing version, right? Let me see. Let me stop this a second. Wait for this to run and we'll check what Illicinia does. I can never remember. How is Snake Tracking Hydra? YST loves Snake Tracking Hydra. Thinks it's really good. So, what do we... So, the first thing we always need is... Okay, now that we haven't got Necmo in a team, we need increased speed. Right? So, that's the first thing we're going to look at is... Who is going to give me increased speed? Necmo is out. Right? Necmo is in Team 1. So, we could go Salad. We could go something like Morrigan. We could go something like Razzlevarg. You know, we could go something like... I don't want to go Krisk. Lydia could come into this team for stability. Frostbringer. These are the options. I'm feeling like Razzlevarg might be quite good. He's good damage, isn't he? Anyone used Razzlevarg in Hydra? How they getting on with him? Boom. Cool, 700 points there. There we go. 352, 558. Wukong is giga charged. What do we got here? She's high up, isn't she, Illicinia? You haven't got her yet. So we basically get a shield buff on all allies and strengthen on a 4-turn cooldown. A 75% chance, or is it 80% chance of placing block debuffs. Of removing, and then an 80% chance of placing. And then we also get a random buff off a target. Heals the champion for 30%. Yeah, so I would say Wuji's a little bit better because you're going to get more damage and weaken. She's a little bit better if you need more of a support block buffs, right? So if you don't have an Ugo, she is a very good substitute for Ugo. Now, the only thing about my Razzlevarg is he's not booked, and I don't plan on booking him. So he would give me Leech. And he does give up a 4-turn cooldown, which doesn't really matter because he rotates so quickly, he'll get that back anyway. I can get it back pretty fast because he'll be much faster than everyone else anyway, so he's likely going to be outpacing everyone. So he could be the increased speed champion. We could use our +2 Mashaled. Does the leech from Necmo do enough? Possibly. If not, we can always put in Gerptuck, right? The Gepunkt. When I have books, but I don't have books for it right now. So that's why we've gone the Wuji, because I don't need books for Wuji. As long as champions are attacking, then it should be fine. Keep in mind as well, we're going to get like Veil from Tatora and different things like that, so... It's a bit squishy. Okay. I'm just thinking, like, I could go Uko, but I really don't want to because I find Uko's A2 is a nightmare. Maybe we do Masher Lead here. That forms as our second... That would form our second damage dealer mind as well if we did Masher Lead. She will out-damage my Wukong because my Wukong's built for arena specialisms. Masher Lead. So we could go Masher Lead. I mean, we could go Lady Kimmy as well. Lady Kimmy would give us decreased speed, decreased accuracy. Give us a bit of turn meter boosting as well. Lady Kimmy is like the closest champion we've got here to Necmo, if I'm being honest. So maybe we just go Lady Kimmy. It gives us a backup block buffs, but not a reliable one. We wouldn't be able to use Lady Kimmy as a block buffs, but she'd be a backup one. But she would give us decreased speed, decreased accuracy, increased speed, increased turn meter. So she'd be good for that. What does Frostbringer do again? I always forget these things. Decreased defense, increased speed, increased attack is a 4-turn cooldown. Heal reduction, not the best. Is actually great with the decreased accuracy. Yeah, exactly. Speed up, and I feel like she might just feel like the decreased speed, increased speed. Like she's the closest to. Yeah, do you mind, Cat? Your tail's in the view. She is the closest to like him. Come on in, go on. There you go, silly animal. Really, all of that for nothing. Thank you. Jeez, Louise. I feel like she's probably the best Necmo sub here. I don't really... like, unless we're going to use Razzlevarg as our second damage increase speed. Or we could use Ragash, I suppose. It's not as good. Claude is not bad from a support perspective. We would get increased accuracy, increased speed, shield on all allies, decreased crit rate, and heals every time it takes a turn. So Claude's not a bad shout. We could go Golden Reaper. Actually low-key strong because you basically get a 20% boost with a 30% fill. And also you get AoE decrease attack. And it will have a chance to reset random skill cooldowns, which is kind of handy. So you could go Golden Reaper as well. There are options. I feel like Kimmy is the closest to Necmo, isn't it? No, she doesn't like being held. She likes to get in my way, but she won't like being held. Yeah, I know. It's annoying, these Doom Tower only auras. It is really annoying. We've got a Tagoa. What does he do? I always forget what this guy does. He's a reviver. Attacks one enemy, places increased speed, then heals his champion. No, he's pretty lame. Wearing on. Yeah, it's pretty lame. What are we thinking? What are we thinking? I think the option is Razzlevarg, Kimmy, or Ragash, right? Because what we would get with Ragash is Strengthen, Perfect Veil, is a 4-turn cooldown for the increased speed, decreased defense, and and we would actually get some damage. So we could go with Ragash. Diabolist. It's a strong champion. Yeah, she's annoying, Bob. She's annoying like that. You're thinking Kimmy. Let's try Kimmy first. So Kimmy is going to be our increased speed, a decreased speed, our increased speed and increased turn meter. Decreased accuracy, we haven't got that solution. So we got 2 roles filled here. So I think Ugo has to come in as block buffs here. Yeah. AoE enemies. I think Ugo has to be coming in here. Even though Kimmy can do it, she needs a buff. It's not going to be reliable enough. So I feel like we have to go towards the Ugo. We have got Cantramind as well, but again, both of them are not going to do it consistently enough. The only good thing is we don't need Weaken because Cantra is going to give it to us. We don't need things like Decrease Axe as well because she's going to do it. Decrease Attack, she's going to do a little bit of that. Grip Tag will trigger Kimmy's passive, giving you 2-meter boost when poisoning. What passive are we talking about here? Whenever this champion or ally receives a debuff, fills their 2-meter. Well, that's quite good as well, yeah. We could do Gurp Tuck. That would give us more healing. The only thing is my Gurp Tuck is not booked at the moment. And I feel like he needs books. I don't have the capacity for the books. But I feel like Ugo has to come in here. Because that gives us decreased defense. I know she's got affinity issues at the moment, but that gives us decreased defense and block buffs in a consistent manner. And it gives us a little bit of heal. At the moment, we still don't have heal support, though. So Hex. Who is the best Hex champion here? We're going to have a look at that in a second. What else do we need? So we need decrease attack, block debuffs. Let's just have a look. Block debuffs. All allies. So in this instance, Riho comes into this team, I think. Because that gives us heal leech support. I think between Riho and Ugo, we've probably got enough healing. If we can somehow get some leech in here as well as a backup, I think we've got enough healing between Riho and Ugo. Riho would give us decreased defense on some targets. She would give us a full cleanse and block debuffs. And continuous heals, right? So we're good now. So now we basically have 1, 2... What do we got here? Let me just... get rid of this a second. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 already. This is the challenge here. When you start going down into your rosters and you start looking at it, you start hitting different barrier points here where you're like, I don't have enough space in the team, right? We basically have already got 5 champions and we need to still have a second DPS, Hex, a decrease attack, defensive support, and Torment solution. So it's like, who's going to cover all of that? You know, who do we have as a secondary damage dealer to start with? Because pretty much hard is going to be, I would imagine, Whisper. I'm not too worried about I'm not actually too worried about finding Torment solutions. I prefer to just kill the Torment head. It's not the end of the world. We will get some decreased attack from Cantra. It's not so bad. And obviously Hex can just be a curse set. What do we have in terms of defensive support here? We basically have block debuffs. That's about it. So we have no defensive support either. Like Mithrala would come in and do a lot, but not as a damage dealer. It's a bit awkward, really. I feel like we're going to have to drop someone here. I can't believe I actually have no space. Yeah, Razzlevarg could be the... Like, if we drop Kimmy, we'll get Razzlevarg for increased speed, but that's all he's going to do. He's not going to fill... You know, I suppose he would fill the DPS spot eventually. But he's not going to give me... Like, he would give me the leech support, but I've already got that with Riho. Maybe we bring Duchess in here. Hey, Greta. Maybe Fixer. Yeah, we could bring the Husk as the Provoker instead. I mean, we could literally just go Royal Guard Husk, right? Double A2. Then the Cantrip drops out because that's the Husk. And then that gives us a spot left over for, like, Cursed. I'm trying to think who would be good for Cursed. That would basically cover us off for the Provoke. I think it's 2 chances. The only reason why my Royal Guard is in here is Royal Guard is very optimal. He's in Reflex and Triple Refresh, so I'm likely to be getting a lot more damage. I know a lot of people are like, why using Royal Guard? It's just because the build that he's in is really strong. Yeah, so now I just need basically a strong... Like, obviously, Mithrala would fit the solution for, like, defensive support and Hex. We don't really have a decrease attack, though. We're lacking a bit of a decrease attack. I think Seekers 2 as well. So we're kind of like... We would kind of need someone with decrease attack. Ideally with support as well. Like, ideally with, like, some sort of defensive support. Like, we could go Kyoku. That would give us defense, support, decrease attack, and maybe Kyoku's a Hex. Maybe we make Cursed Kyoku. I mean, we can throw in Krisk as well. Krisk would give us decreased attack, a backup decreased defense, buff extension, backup increased speeds, AoE decreased speed. I could just throw in... But again, Krisk, I feel like what we're going to end up doing here is we're going to be doing this on the Team 3. Right, I feel like my hard team is going to be fundamentally this. So Krisk covers decreased defense, decreased speed, decreased attack. I feel like that's what's going to happen. That the Krisk Duchess is going to move to the hard, and then we'll keep them off brutal. Because I feel like Krisk and Duchess together is the combo. We could go Martyr. I'm actually interested in, like, a Cursed Kyoku. With Kyoku here, we would basically get a backup heal with a backup increased defense for all allies, a ally protection with block damage, a decreased attack, and a weaken backup as well. Because obviously we've lost weaken now. So we'd get weaken, and we would also get the ability to protect the team, right? So we could basically put her with... we could put her with a cursed set, because we do have an AoE at least, right? So she could go in. What does this guy do? Pretty now. That's what it's he's all conditional, isn't he? So that's the annoying thing. Obviously, Kyoku would be built as like a mischief target, right? She'd be the mischief target. I don't really want to use Ukko because I don't like his A2. I feel like his A2 is a nightmare. And also, he's built in arenas. He's not built for Hex. Just looking at all my options there. Chamfer's pretty good, mind. Chamfer is underrated. Skaramis is also very good. Obviously, there's loads more. Oh, there's loads more options for decreased attack. Masamoto. Like, Chamfer gives us a lot. Chamfer gives you decreased attack, decreased accuracy, and decreased defense on a single target. It's not ascended, so we're not seeing his ascended abilities. Like if we were looking at Chamfer in here, we'd get shield, places decreased speed whenever he gets attacked, decreased accuracy, decreased attack on a 3-turn cooldown, and decreased defense. What champs must be in Brutal? Well, nothing must be anywhere. I think Kimmy is the closest I've got to a Necmo sub. I feel like either one or the other, or both Royal Guard and Husk. That's kind of like a great damage source. Both of them are max HP nukers. I feel like Ugo is almost like a lock-in because of the way that I've used other block buff champions. So she's like the best block buffs I've got. Especially if we're running Husk, we don't need Cantra. That gives us more space. So it's kind of like we just need a curse to decrease attack with some defensive support, ideally. Which is where Kyoko is coming into mind, I think. No, because... yeah, I suppose we could put a very fast Skull Lord. Right? Where is he? This is booked, so it's a 2-turn, 1-turn provoke. So if we built him much faster than this, so he was going at a much faster rate, we could use him. He will give a decreased attack. So we could drop Husk as a second DPS. Put in Skull Lord. He's now my decreased attack. But we now need a damage that's also Hex, that also can do support. So now we kind of need like... I mean, we could do Tila. Tila's kind of support. We get a leech. Don't need a leech, but we get it. It wouldn't necessarily give us more defensiveness, but it would give us more healing. What does Vildrax do? I can't even remember what this guy does. Steals healing. Does not work against bosses. Okay, nothing really. Marinix would obviously be a traditional, like, full-on raw damage dealer, but wouldn't give us anything else. She would place decreased defense, but we've already got that with Ugo. Attack and cursed. Yeah, but we need... yeah. Like, we don't really need to force Hex. What I'm kind of thinking of is, you know... do we have some sort of damage option that can give us a little bit of stability, like a shield buff or something? You know, someone that can just give us a little bit of survivability and damage. Yeah, but Ruel's squishy as hell. Challenge, see, this is you kind of like seeing the challenge. Like, we could bring Snick Track, would give us protection. It's not going to give us much damage though. That's the downside with Snick Track. Like, all these champs here are great protectors, right? These are all my shield buff champions. But generally, shield champions don't pump damage. You know, Helicath maybe. Artak maybe. But I'm pretty... not Artak, sorry. Altan. But I'm pretty sure his shield is... if he kills someone. If he doesn't kill anyone, it's not rubbish. He's a buff champion if I've ever seen one. Like, this guy is going to give me a lot of protection. We'll get leech, we'll get reflect damage, we'll get shield. He'll keep the team alive. We get backup, decrease attack. But that's not damage, right? This team now needs damage. What about strength then? Strengthen. Where is it? Again, it's just... I mean, Ragash is not a bad damage dealer, but he's not a damage dealer, you know? Got Morag. I wonder how Morag would do. Never really thought about using Morag. Dwarves. Morag. Should counterattack a lot. She is defense-based. Can you, the new fusion, fit a role? Yeah, so a new fusion would probably fit the provoke role here, right? So we would take out Skull Lord, and then we would just find a better decrease attack champion with damage. Because Royal Guard is built with... so Royal Guard is built with reflex and refresh. I don't want to use the refresh or reflex on the A2, on the A3. I do think... I'm wondering Morag. I wonder how good Morag would be. You'd get lots of counterattacks. It did a lot of damage in Clan Boss, didn't it? It would give us an AoE strengthen with damage. Right? We've got plenty of healing between Ugo and Riho, right? Healing is fine. There's not an awful lot of shielding, but... There's no shield, there's no strength, and there's no increased defense. So we are actually quite squishy, but at least Morag would give us strengthen. The other option is we look at, instead of strengthen, like an increased defense buff for everyone. And then a damage dealer that can do that. So we'd be looking at someone like... you know, like an Iron Brago, maybe. Like, maybe... That's why I was thinking Kyoku. If we threw in Kyoku here, it wouldn't be bad, but it's very limited on damage still. I feel like we just don't have enough damage. What blessing would you use on Mithrala? I use Temporal Chains. Morag and Cursed. It's tricky, isn't it? Miscreating and Savage, would he ever be able to hit? He hits okay, but nothing crazy, I would say. He's not going to do nuts. It's tricky. I feel like the Kimmy Riho combo is just a problem. Maybe we go the rabbit route. Maybe we just go something like this. Razzle Varg as bonus damage with dropping Kimmy and go Razzle Varg here. Right? That frees up spot. Razzle Varg could be Hex if we want. Right? If we want Razzle Varg to be a Hex champion, we can do that. And that gives us more utility for the decreased speed. Oh, we have got this champ. What does this do? It's a bit conditional. You know, we could go Snick Track then. Or a White Dried Near. You know, this opens more options for us if we do it that way. If we basically make Skull Lord our decrease attack and provoker and just get him lots of turn meter, Razzle Varg is our increased speed champion, our secondary DPS with Royal Guard. Then we have Ugo as our block buffs, Riho as our block debuffs, cleanse as well. We've got a good single target amount of debuffs on the Ugo, on the Riho there, on the block debuffs. So all we need now is a champion that can do decreased speed. Right, we need a champion that can do decreased speed to all our enemies. Which could be White Dryad Nia. It could be Snick Track. I mean, we could just go Kimmy. We could just go Kimmy with it. With Razzlevarg as our second DPS, I suppose. Wouldn't give us much support, though, right? That's what we're kind of after here. We're kind of after defensiveness. We could even look at someone like an Urost. Because that actually gives us a provoke, believe it or not. If we had strengthen. You'd get... So I get a 3-turn strengthen ally protection. The decreased speed is only if there's 2 poisons. That's never going to work, is it? It's a shame. It's a shame. What does Stultus do? He's built really slow, though. He's conditional. You know, Mother Sibel. She's not booked, unfortunately, and she would require books. So, otherwise she could be quite good, because we'd get increased defense. I actually think maybe White Drioneer is good here. Because we would basically get a heal constantly. We get ally protection and strengthen. We get a single target reset ability. So, for example, if I need to suddenly get a provoke out because we 3%ed, I can reset the Skull Lord. Because I don't play auto, right? So I'm not looking at auto teams. Or we can, like, boost, like, the Royal Guard's A2. And then we've also got a decreased speed. Let's do Nia. And do Curse Nia. Because that gives us ally protection, right? And it gives us healing. We don't have a Torment solution here. We're just going to depend on killing something. But we do have double cleanse. So we could basically outdo it. So that's that team. Now the final team. And then we're going to jump. Then we're going to end the stream there. I know we haven't actually run anything today. But I'm going to like build some of these out now. I think what I wanted to mainly cover here was like the concepts. Like picking a team based on what I've got and how the challenge is. Like you can see the challenges with some things. So what do we need here? So Whisper is 100% my damage dealer here. 100%. Because raw damage is really good, right? What I want to pick here is basically crazy damage. Do you know what I might actually do? Double Whisper. My affection for Whisper is so much that I might just make 2. Yeah, this is a stream on Thursday. This is a bonus stream today. So what do we need here? Kriska is going to cover us for Cursed Hex. It's going to cover us for decreased defense, speed, decreased attack. We got Duchess leading the line. Okay. What I want to do here is I actually want a double buff extender if I can. So actually what I'm going to run here... We basically can run this with a lot more... we can do this with a lot more security because essentially hard doesn't hit as much. Right? There's a lot less incoming damage with hard, which means that we can run less defensive support. I don't need probably strength and I don't need as much defensive support, right? We can run more options. Now there is an option here. I could run something like an Eerie. Could be good. The biggest thing I want to do here is I want to keep the Veil up as much as I can because I tend to find the issue with Duchess Krisk is you can't keep the Veil up for the Torment Head as much. There is another option which is kind of crazy, which is Emic. We could run Emic if you want, right? And basically reduce the cooldowns of Whisper even further. So the idea is we'd basically just try and cycle Whisper as fast as possible. Let's get the fundamental first, though. Who are we going to use for increased speed? Right, that's the fundamental thing here. Who are we going to use for increased speed? Rabbit is out. We are also out with Necmo. What we really want is someone that can do lots of increased speed. A big amount of increased speed. So it could be Elva. Would give us increased speed and healing. It could be someone like Mashaled. I know we get increased speed from Krisk. I guess maybe we get increased speed from Krisk, right? But it's not as consistent. It's only for himself, right? Or does he do it for everyone? Does he increase defenses himself? So maybe Krisk does increase speed. So maybe we don't need increased speed. I would prefer increased turn meter then. If we're not going to have increased speed, increased turn meter. Like, Oella could be good. Elva cleanses too, yeah. We don't... Krisk is my cursed. So we got cursed Krisk. We could run Oella. We obviously need a provoke option. I would say maybe Cantra comes in here. Right, Cantra's our provoker. How much space have we got left? We got space for one champion. We've got space for one champion here, and they've got to cover some heal support. Right now, we don't really have any healing. So what I want really is turn meter control with healing. I feel like it's Oella. We don't have block buffs though either, which is a bit of a problem. Cantra will do it, I guess, but it's not consistent. Yeah, Krisk does provoke, but he's on a 3-turn cooldown, right? You're not going to be able to cycle back around to Krisk that quickly, are you? Not unless I run an incredibly fast Krisk. Which I could do. I could run like a 300 speed Krisk. I mean, how fast are the heads on hard? Let's have a look. 220 speed. It's still reasonably fast. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Cantra is just maybe... It's a really annoying I'm losing Cantra, but I feel like... Duchess, Krisk, Oella for Permanent Veil. That's what I'm thinking, yeah. Buff Extender for Oella. I feel like Oella comes in here. We get double buff extension, increased resistance, so therefore we don't need as many stats. Run Krisk much faster. I thought I run it basically as fast as I can. Duchess then to anchor the team. Gives us increased attack for our Whispers. We do need Weaken. This team doesn't have Weaken. It needs Weaken. So I need a Provoke and a Weaken. Or, well, no, we don't need a Provoke. If we basically make Krisk the Provoker, we need a Weaken. And a block debuffs, which we've got as Duchess. So... Because I prefer to run a debuffer with Weaken. Cantra just keeps appearing everywhere. But we haven't got any turn meter boost either, which is kind of rough. It's kind of rough, isn't it? We don't need Provoke to got Krisk. If we run Krisk really fast, it's absolutely fine. Ooh, Tarchon. Yeah. I think Tarchon's the best here, right? Increased defense on all allies, so we get a bit more stability. And we get a 20% fill. 25% weaken on a 3-turn cooldown. And we get a backup provoke. If basically things go like downhill, we do have a backup provoke. I don't know what it provokes to. Where is he? He is an undead horde Tarchon. He's not an undead horde. Is he a demon spawn? Yes. Books to like 35%. It's not great, but it might be a backup one. The only reason why I mentioned why I mentioned Tarchon is because, you know, naturally, I have a 6-star Tarchon if we were to do it. So that would give us access to like cruelty or something else. Can't put decreased defense. That is a problem. That is a problem. You are right. I mean, Lydia could come in, but we wouldn't have block buffs for everyone then. Wuji's in team 1, so... Venus, HP burn, decreased defense, weaken. There's no increased turn meter though, is there? Right. Like, who here does both increased turn meter? No one. These are the only champions that have both increased turn meter and weaken in their kits. Like, Ruella could come in. Ruella would give us crit rate buff. Decreased defense weaken on single targets. So it would give us the option. And that would give us turn meter. Maybe Ruella, actually. Because this team, this hard team, is all about target farming. Right? This is about target farming. So it's basically picking a target and killing it with whispers. And then when that target is dead, you keep killing it with whisper. Which this would achieve. Right? If I used my, I think this is my bolster whisper, right? No, where's my other whisper? My bolster Ruella, yeah? This is my bolster Ruella. So if I built it with a bit more tankiness, a bit far, or build the other one. Build the Ruella, we basically have decreased defense and weaken on a 4-turn cooldown on a single target. So we can depend on Krisk's passive to basically knock them down. And then when they're down, use no respite and kill it. Oella does increase turn meter. Oh, yeah, so she does. Ah, guys, you're correct. There you go. We wouldn't have block buffs, though, with Ruella. So maybe we don't need increased turn meter. Ruella's nice, though. Block buffs. We could just throw in Cantrip. I'm sure his is conditional, isn't it? I'm sure it's conditional. Places block buffs on enemies not under increased defensive strength before attack. Oh, mind you, we could use Aileel. The only thing is he doesn't actually place weaken unless he removes, right? It's kind of annoying. We'd just be using him as a block buff. So he'd do damage, but he doesn't place weaken unless you remove it. It's kind of rubbish, really. It's kind of rubbish. Deliana has turn meter block buffs. Yeah, I forgot Oella's got turn meter, so it's not so bad. What I'm looking for is basically weaken with block buffs. This is where Wuji would fit quite nicely, I guess, but I've already got Wuji locked in for Team 1. We could just throw a counter in for the lols, but I do like the concept of Ruella, though. We would not have block buffs. It's the only downside with this team is we would not have any block buffs if we went Ruella. I do like the concept of Ruella because it would give us increased crit rate so that the Whispers would get started with increased crit rate. And we'd have decreased defense because, as someone pointed out, there is no decreased defense or weaken for decapitated heads in this team, which is a problem. Second Wuji might help, but it would not be consistent enough. I feel like block buffs is close to mandatory. So, yeah, I don't know. But the problem is then, where's the debuff spread? It's you know, I mean, we could use... So here's the thing. I could build one of the Whispers with accuracy. On hard especially, it would be absolutely fine to do so. So we wouldn't need the weaken. It's more where we're going to get the decreased defense from then. So maybe if we try... Maybe there's a block debuffs option with decreased defense instead of weaken. Hey, look. Maybe we just use the second Ugo. I mean, we could go the Fenax route. I'm not lying. Maybe we just go the Fenax route. Fenax is low-key strong. Because you get a 60% chance. Like, it books up a little bit higher, but not perfect. Where is he? So you get a 60% chance of placing decreased defense and decreased speed on a 4-turn cooldown. You get a 80% chance, which if you put sniper, 85% chance of placing block buffs. Block active skills won't work. It's fine. And then a really, really strong A1. It's 80%, 85%. So we could just build like triple damage. It's too squishy for hard. He's going to do any damage. Is he though? I'm going to have Oella, Duchess. I mean, what have we got here? We've got increased resistance. We'll have ally protection. Hard doesn't hit that hard. And he will wreck a head when it's dead. You know, they'll be under Veil because we've got double buff extension, right? So they'll all be under Veil. Whisper will outrun her Veil pretty quickly, though, because she's got Relentless. But we would basically... I would imagine these three would kill a head. These three would destroy a head. I got 2 of them. So I can make a second one happen. See, I got 2 of them at 60. So that's not a problem. I'd have to go get masteries for the second one, but that's not a problem. So I could build a second one up. That would give me a backup decreased defense for killing the head. So basically when the head is dead, we use Fenax's A3 with Whisper's A1 and then just keep whacking the head. Would be good with Morag if you went that route. Yeah, but I suppose we could drop the second Whisper for a Morag. Maybe that's a good idea. Would give us strength and just to help keep the team alive. Maybe not index so hard into double Whisper, but basically go Whisper, Fenax, Morag. That could work. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you throw in Fenax double Whisper, there ain't no head living. It's going to die very fast. Any chance I can pay you to create 3 Hydra teams for me? I'm the mastermind. You don't need to pay me for it. We can do like a look at your roster if you want. But that would give me block buffs, right? No Mistrider Dythe. Problem with Mistrider is he's more AoE focused and these are more single target, right? So I think what we're going to do is basically call it Fenax Morag. And just accept no block buffs otherwise. So those would be the 3 teams. Oops. Why have we got 0 there? Oh, because we've got like Torment solution. We'll just call it Riho. There we go. So these are my 3 teams that I'm proposing. Gnut, Michinaki. So for Nightmare, we would run Gnut, Michinaki, Wuji, Tatora, Nekmo, Morley. For Brutal, Royal Guard, Razelvarg, Ugo, Nia, Riho, Skull Lord. And then for Hard, Whisper, Fenax, Morag, whichever one, Krisk, Duchess, Oella. Thoughts before we head over to YST stream? Yeah, but Deliana requires books, which I do not have. So there's always a concept, right? I need to do this today, so. DM me, CJ. We might do it next stream. We can use a similar thing here. The thing about hard is you just want to kill heads, right? So if we can kill a head really quickly, you know, be cool. When can we see these in action? I'll probably have to build it today off stream for Hydra Clash, and then depending on how well it goes, I'll we'll do it in a stream, right? Quick fusion talk. I'll probably talk about the fusion on Thursday stream because YST is about to start streaming, so we're going to send it over to him now. Sadly, Cursed Kimmy or Cursed Vizix didn't make the cut. It's close, though. I would say a Kimmy is close with Nia, but Kimmy just... The problem with Kimmy is the block buffs loses value because it needs a buff. So then you just have basically a 2 meter drop and a decreased accuracy, which is kind of a bit weaker. And she doesn't bring any, like, survivability, which is the biggest issue with all these teams, right? She doesn't make Team 1 because Necmo is far superior. She doesn't make Team 2 because I need survivability. And she doesn't make Team 3 because we've already got, like, you know, good turn meter control with Duchess, Krisk, and Oella. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Krisk is basically set as the thing. If we, like, Krisk would have to be, like, 300 speed. Like, super fast to keep provoking and keep going. So, we'll try it. I think we should add some AoE damage to hard, like Raz, even though you know he's taken. Well, I don't really think you want AoE damage, because hard, basically, the goal is kill a head and then whack it. Like, a bit like normal. Find the head and whack it as hard as possible. Because, like, a Whisper A2 on a decapitated head is about 1 million damage. A Fenax is about 1 million damage. And when I've got Hex running, if I get, like, 2 Whisper A2s with a Fenax A1... like, that's going to do, like, 4 million damage in one rotation. So it doesn't matter that I haven't got AoE. And the thing about AoE damage is the passive of the bosses reduces AoE damage a lot. So you're going to lose, like, 40% of the damage anyway. Razelvarg is not doing damage on his A2. He's doing it on his A1. Because his A1 is where the damage is. You know? What I'll do is I'll keep one Whisper in Relentless, Dutchy, and I'll put the other one in, like, Lethal, right? So we could test it. I'm pretty sure, like, I'm still working on Ascendancy for the other Whisper. I don't know what Awaken the other Whisper's on at the moment. The other Whisper's at 3, right? So if we get to it and we get the 6-star on the main Whisper, we'll test the Crushing Rend, we'll swap it around, and then we'll see what happens. So, he's not doing 5 million in one hit, though, is he? You like, there's no way he's doing 5 million in one hit. You wouldn't know that. There's no way that he's doing 5 million. Relentless Rotus. He's not hitting for 5 million in one hit. Trust me. There's no way that Razelvarg is hitting 5 million in one hit. This is not possible. Even, like, Acrisias and that don't hit 5 million in one hit on A3. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a screenshot, Joel, feel free to send it to me. I'd be very surprised if he's doing it in one hit. Like, one A3. I could imagine his A3's doing, like, maybe 200,000 per hit. And then of that 200,000, like, 2% of it's going to be spread to all other allies. So that's probably going to move to, like, maybe an extra 100,000. Maybe he's doing 1 million damage. There's no way he's doing 5 million damage. CJ, thanks for becoming a minion. I appreciate it. Welcome. I guess we'll find out, Joel. I'll build it on Brutal, and we'll see, right? My rabbit, I can make him go really fast. You know, I can do that. I only have a 2-star soul, but I can make him go really fast, and we can test it. The only thing is my rabbit's not booked, which is a bit disappointing, because I don't really want to book his A3, because various different reasons. I prefer to have it on a 4-turn for different clan boss reasons, but if I never use him for clan boss again, I could book his A3, which would be, you know, more damage, but, yeah. Anyway, guys. That is the team. We're going to try it. I'm going to build it off stream now while I'm watching YST for Hydra Clash. Make up the champions now. Some of them are already built, like Totora is already built. Necmo is already built, but I might see if I can make it go faster. Gnut is built. Royal Guard is built. Ugo will be rebuilt. Nia needs a little bit of adjustment. Riho needs a bit of adjustment. Skull Lord needs building. Second Whisper needs building. Second Fenax needs building. Krisk Duchess, I just need to rebuild the Krisk. Oella is built, so we'll have to see. Yeah, 3 hours of XL, right? But what we'll probably do is I'll save this XL over here now as like a Hydra builder, and we can use it for helping people out. I'll see if I can make it as more of a tool, because it kind of covers everything that you need, like the roles, and you can put the champions in, and then you can figure out who your teams are going to be. I feel like that's a good idea. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to end the stream, and you will be redirected over to YST. Should we just check the YST is actually live before we do that? He probably is, because I've overrun by 20 minutes. Is he live? Yeah, he's live. Right, we're going to send it over to him. Say hello to YST for me. I don't know what he's up to. He's doing CVC. We'll see what he is. I'll be back on Thursday. We'll probably do a bit of a catch up on what we've just done here. And also, I need to rebuild my clan boss team because we need to take out Emic. I've just built it, I know, but I need to take him out because I want to use him for arena. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, head over to YST stream. Give him a hello. See what he's up to. I'll be heading over there now as well. Thanks, guys.